Although, and he finds a third to the smoke.
Just an ult. Getting into 3K with an ult.
With 3 seconds left, Final lands the pre-fire. Nobody can kill him in time.
EMB clutches it out. What a play from the Alibi as the lobby player goes unchecked.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the desk here. Welcome back. The final semi-final here, ready to go. The last match of the night, and it promises to be an interesting one. It's Oxygen versus the Wichita Wolves. I'm Corbeck here. Alongside me are Nix and Clips. We're your desk for this evening. We hope you enjoyed the last game. We hope you're looking forward to this one. Now, some of you out there, some of you might already be in the position that this is a write-off, right? That this is done. But I don't think that's a fair assessment, guys, because if you think it's a write-off, I don't think you know the Wichita Wolves very well. I mean, Klimps, we were talking about it in the break. They had a huge upset coming into this, right? They beat Reality TV, who have been one of these teams that everybody has been kind of pulling for. I know every single, I think, caster in the league predicted that Reality TV was going to beat Wichita Wolves, and then they come out and turn it around. What do you make of that? What do you make of this Wichita Wolves squad?
Yeah, they continue to win games that no one ever thinks that they're going to, right? I mean, they're in all of these positions. It's like, you don't think that they're going to beat 6 Karma. Here they are. They go and beat 6 Karma. Then they lost to RTV in the regular season, in the main stage in the Swiss bracket. Lost to RTV. Guess what? They come back and beat them 2-1 after a first map where we thought the RTV... we weren't sure about how they were playing. It seemed maybe a little bit of shenanigans going on through, but also Wichita Wolves, you can't take credit away from them. They played so well, so very well in their game, and coming back, especially with a huge statement at the very end of the match with a 7-1 stomp over them. And Fish, Riot, Twizzler, Bino, Bry, obviously Fish stepping in for JJ, who's moved away. Will be coming back eventually, but for now, filling out for the rest of the season. Twizzler or as far as I know, it is now Bino and Riot who have to IGL the squad.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting looking at that kind of big IGL dirt. And I mean, I think, Nix, you have a pretty good insight into like teams, their mentality. I know you've coached. How do you feel that the loss of the IGL is impacting this Wichita Wolves squad? Because I think a lot of people thought that was going to be a serious issue when they played against Reality TV, and it just kind of wasn't.
I mean, sometimes, honestly, it could be the most detrimental thing that can happen to a team. That's your in-game leader. That's the person that's not just supposed to lead you through your attacks and defenses, but it's your hype man. It's the one who changes the mentals. You might as well just call him a captain at that point. So by losing that critical person, that could almost decimate an entire squad. But Wichita Wolves really have overcome that stigma of that, IGL. They've really kind of come into their own, and they have the ability to adapt and adjust based off of just simple roster changes. So I have to applaud them on that, like being able to just really kind of snap those mentals back and get them where they need to be. They're definitely the underestimated underdog for sure.
Well, let's focus in on one of those underestimated underdogs. We got Bino as our highlight player here for the side of the Wichita Wolves. Klimps, this is one you were happy to put in here as well, and I know I agreed with you. Why don't you walk us through kind of what makes Bino unique?
Well, having to change roles and going and stepping into that IGL position that JJ was taking over. Now, it is split between him and Riot, but still, they get along well. They've found success in games where we didn't think that we were going to see success. And Bino, a very strong support player. We've also seen him clutch many of times, obviously playing the Nomad, the flank watch role, doing a very good job against a variety of teams, notably in their game against RTV just yesterday.
Very true indeed. But I mean, the Wichita Wolves, they've had a heck of a journey to get here. It probably wasn't kind of all sunshine and roses for them, much like it wasn't for Aerial Rise Academy, but they've definitely, I think, performed a lot better than a lot of us thought. And I hate to keep harping back to that point, but really, I don't think we can overstate how significant that win against RTV was, especially looking on the backside. I think it was a 7-1, like third map in that series after they won in overtime on map number 2. I mean, crazy stuff coming out of them. And I think really a team that has a lot of inspirational momentum going into this. But feel like there's always a but, first of all, and I feel like it's a big elephant-shaped but, an angry elephant being directed by a man called Newers. We have to talk about their opponents. We have to talk about Oxygen Esports, who have just been, I mean, they're newborn gods, right? They've come onto the scene. They've exploded with power. Nobody can slow them down. I just don't even know, where to start with these guys, Nix. They are scary.
Well, let's start off with the fact that Oxygen have not dropped a single map at all this entire playoff season, like at least through the regular season. Now, they are also the first team that got promoted with that 3-0 record. Like, the only team that even came remotely close was LG during round 3 of the Swiss stage. Like, you know them, you love them. There's really no introduction needed for any of these players. Newers being the absolute crazy gunner that was just brought onto the team just within this past year, but you even have Vertical, Sweater, Dream, like, there's really no better introduction that you can give them other than just displaying their name here on the screen.
This is giving me some HK Rebels vibes versus Oxygen. I feel like this match, throwback all the way to week 1, where we were like, there is no way that Wichita Wolves are gonna come out of this on top. Everyone is kind of thinking that same thing. I mean, even in the interview, we're like, AAA think that they're gonna play Oxygen after this game. But WW, they've been that underdog. They've continued to win games when they shouldn't have, or where it's been shocking, surprising, whatever. But against Oxygen, a team who's been so good, Oxygen's only played 2 maps this season, Bank and Chalet. And that is it. And they have a 28-8 round count on Bank, meaning they've won 28 rounds, lost 8 total through 4 maps that they've played. They've also played 4 maps on Chalet. They're 28-7 there. So if Wichita Wolves find themselves there, I have no hopes, to be honest.
Well, we'll leave that. We'll leave that as a little surprise because we're going to get to map vetoes in just a bit. But first, I want to talk about an Oxygen player, and it's not who you think it is. It's not Newers tonight. No, it is Foxay. Just to show this Oxygen side can step up in the absence of Newers if they have to, if for some ungodly reason he dies early on. Nix, walk us through Foxay and his comparison to Bino, our other highlight player of this match.
Well, the most important thing we need to point out here is the fact that this is essentially the battle between the IGLs. Now, typically your IGL is going to be a player that does not perform as well as, a fragger or a flank or anything like that. But Foxay has really shown us time and time again, especially on Chalet, that an IGL can do just about anything. Sometimes it's just that player that's got to take, that round, go into it, just be like, hey, you know what? I got to step up. I got to do something. And I actually want to make a good point on the Aerial Arise versus OXG game on Chalet specifically. There was a point in time in which Foxay decided to just kind of man up, start walking up those stairs onto Mezzanine, and just completely destroyed Aerial Arise. And if anybody wants to know what round that is, go back on the SES Twitter, scroll down a little bit, and look for Crow Screaming, because he was not happy.
Fair enough. That's as good a marker as you're gonna ever get. Thank God they don't give directions like that at the library, though, if you're looking for something. But I gotta say, right, IGL stepped up here. I think pretty impressive to see such good stats coming out, and that's, I think, indicative of just how strong this overall Oxygen squad is. But Klimps, let's start off talking about our map vetoes here, because this is going to determine a lot. You've already brought up some really good statistics about how Oxygen Esports really haven't played that many maps. How do you think they're going to do coming in on the cafe and the clubhouse here?
Well, if I can remember correctly, Stage 3 NAL, and it seems like it's a common trend whenever I've seen Oxygen play against SSG specifically, they always take them to cafe, and they always go to cafe, and it's always like a super close map. So that's the most recent time, if I'm correct, that Oxygen has been there. So it's been a little while. I think it was week 1 of Stage 3 NAL. On the other end, Clubhouse, I don't think we've seen Oxygen there since Berlin. So when we're looking at these maps, I mean, these are fossils in the pocketbook and the strap book of OXG. We haven't seen them in forever. We could have seen it against LG if LG was able to get Oxygen past map 2, but that didn't happen. So when we talk about maps, they're hidden away for Oxygen. They're maps that they practice a decent amount, but it's been a little while, so they gotta dust off the rust a little bit.
Well, Klimps, You know I'm always gonna come at you with a counter of some sort.
Oh boy, here we go.
You gotta
Hey,
buckle
buckle up.
Oxygen has not been playing very strategically. They 100% have just been how do I put it into words? Bringing a level of default with adaptation. Sometimes the best siege is just well-played siege. Sometimes stats don't matter. And I think we're gonna continue to see that at Oxygen tonight.
But contrary to that, I know that they also will do very minimal takes and try to be direct as fast as possible. We saw that a lot in their match against Astralis, and they decimated them. So we'll see. We'll see how much strategy Oxygen brings into this one. I'm not too sure, but I'm excited to see. I think you're wrong.
Now I know how the soft like boards feel when people are shooting through them both directions. Like I'm just here. I'm just vibing.
Yeah,
But,
more twisted in the middle.
I'm just trying my best. But I mean, I think I think it's pretty valid to talk about it in the sense that you guys are. But I don't want to spend too much more time on it. We've got to get into the game. But first, we got to talk about predictions. I'll start with you, Nix. Who's taking this one tonight? Are Wichita Wolves gonna pull off the upset of the century, or is this just Oxygen clinically applied aggression all night long?
Honestly, Oxygen just plays a very good Rainbow Six game. I'm going Oxygen tonight.
And then you, Klimps, is it gonna be an Oxygen as well?
I'm keeping it short and sweet. Yeah, OXG.
I think my heart feels for Wichita Wolves. I want them to win this. They've done so well to get here, but I think at the end of the day, we all need it to breathe, and we're all probably going to watch it win. It's going to be Oxygen here for me as well tonight. I think a clean sweep on the Oxygen side in terms of our predictions. I mean, at the end of the day, guys, what more can you say? They're just the stronger team, and I think really they're the team that has... If this match is going to end with an Oxygen loss, it's because it was Oxygen's game to lose. Like, let's be honest. But enough of that. We've talked, you've listened, you've waited. Let's get to our final semifinal match here at SCS. I'm going to throw it over to our wonderful casters, Lynx and Time to Light. Take it away, boys.
Oh, I'm excited.
Look
I'm
at that,
just
we even
excited.
match.
What the heck? I didn't know we were doing that. This was a shock. Okay, he told me he was just going to wear some light, casual button-up. He didn't say he was just going to rip my entire flow. Well, I thought it was going to be me and Time to Light, but it's actually just the same person on 2 different cameras. This is very weird.
Well, how you doing, Lynx? Excited for another semifinal? I mean, we just saw an upset that I don't think many people expected. At least, half of our desk, including the casters, did at a bare minimum.
Yeah, I mean... listen, I know some of y'all, you're hating on Ambi, okay? You guys are player haters when it comes to Aerial Rise Academy, but me personally, I kind of had it figured out the whole time, okay? I love no disrespect to Kool-Aid, no disrespect to VBM behind the scenes, but, these are former SCS champs. You can't count them out on their own turf. But in this game, I don't think Bino is going to be able to take this over Newers, but I've seen crazier things before.
Yeah, I'm going to join you in that sentiment. Oxygen will almost certainly take this. I do think it's going to be either a 2-0 or a 2-1. Either way, it should be a close series. If it does not go 2-0, it'll be Wichita Wolves taking Clubhouse, their own map selection, and then Chalet, of which, as Klimps mentioned, the squad of OXG is 28-7 on in terms of round differential. They've given up 15 rounds in 6 maps. For all of you unfamiliar or non-mathematistically inclined, that's very little per map. They're averaging 2.5 rounds given up per map against T1 teams, Aerial Rise Academy, of whom are now waiting in that semifinal. They have some squads that they've already taken on that are dropping, to say the very least.
So, if I am to maybe hit your argument home just a little bit more for those who might not get it, OXG are looking pretty good. Would you agree to that?
Yes.
And Wichita Wolves are also looking okay, but not nearly as good as the actually flawless Oxygen and SCS so far.
For reference, Reality TV gained 15 rounds yesterday. Oxygen has given up 15 rounds the entirety of SCS. We'll move on from that conversation and into our operator bans. Oxygen has taken Flores out of the conversation here on Cafe, which is our first map and is Oxygen's map selection. Wichita Wolves surprisingly chose the attacking side and have knocked off Dokebi and Azami. I like the Dokebi ban. Azami could prove a little fateful for them as they move on to the defense.
And it's also, if OXG were at least putting a little bit of investment into VOD review, Dokebi and Azami have been the primary attacking and defensive bans for Wichita Wolves and SCS. Not the only operators they banned, though Azami certainly is close to that, if not their only defensive ban. But Dokebi certainly takes up the majority of bans that Wichita Wolves have done so as well. And Valkyrie rounded things out will not be a shock to the Wolves and to their senses whatsoever. But of course, starting out on Reading Room and Fireplace, maybe not the site Wichita Wolves would have anticipated. This is typically the second site teams go to. We might start with Cocktail, might start with Kitchen, but usually this is the second one. So Wichita Wolves might have to rethink their initial strategy for the time being as they go about this. They do have some universal operators, but I was going to mention the Ying, and it's immediately traded off, right? Instead opting to go for the Ace, which on this side of all places is not usually the one where we see a lot of hard breaching.
I have to say I'm a little surprised that the Ace is being brought in. Note for that to be used maybe towards the pillar side of reading. I don't think it's going to be used anywhere else unless a sneaky hatch is opened up, but even then, you don't really have any useful hatches to bring open unless you're talking about that main train car position, but it is going to be locked in by a Riot. On the other side, Oxygen locking in a fairly normal composition. I can't see any outliers. The only one I would note is Sweater on that Warden. Unfortunately, Riot does not bring the Ying as was originally intended or indicated in bare minimum, so I don't know how much that Warden's going to find other than maybe Bino's flash.
It still brings a deployable shield, brings an MPX with a 1.5, so even if you end up not needing to use those glasses, the kit that he brings, excluding the primary utility, can often be enough to justify itself. At worst, it's not going to subtract anything or add anything for that matter, but give Sweater a gun he's comfortable on. And after all, the position he's playing forward inside a bathroom is the one that will primarily receive a lot of that utility, and it becomes a lot more important now that Foxay's taken off the board. He was to do the majority of the drone hunting for Oxygen, but only 2 drones taken off the board. So that Specchio scanner that he has been using quite prolifically since Solis was introduced into the competitive scene about halfway through the season is no longer a factor, and his vertical hops out the window, a drone goes in his way, and 2 bodies fly off the board.
Vertical a clean double and drops right back into the map, safe and sound. Great opening for Oxygen, exactly what they needed, notably to drop Bino and Bry. That's a giant fragging duo that Wichita Wolves just cannot work with now. I don't think they were originally intending that, considering the way they're setting up this take. It's originally indicated towards that bottom floor, albeit the first floor, not the basement, considering this is Cafe, but a possible pincer also in the conversation, considering the fact that Packrat is down below. I don't know, however, if Pack is going to be able to gain anybody and catch anybody out of position, considering they're stuck between a rock and a vertical.
Still, the potential to get that one isolated player whom you know had to go through that bakery double door can be enticing once you've entered the man disadvantage, as the other 2 players, Riot and Twizzler, move across that top floor. They'll require some necessary control for this reading room attack, getting open those vertical holes with that sledgehammer. They moved down to 4 drones, so converting onto the site could be more difficult, but now with the vertical dealt with, the one X factor in the back of their mind is no longer there. Of course, there could be a flank from Newers or somewhere else. With the Jaeger no longer in the wind, the vertical established, and Packrat looking towards reading door, they can begin to move in for an execute.
Packrat was getting flanked from below, but instead the positioning has switched up. Sweater looks down the long red hallway at the perfect time, unfortunately does not get the timing on towards Pack, who is now seen by Newers, a pixel angle towards Pillar, and down goes the Ash. Riot up above, playing the Ace, has run out of time, and notably only has a Selma left, but it may not matter. In goes Twizzlers, they walk straight into reading from that laundry rotate, looking to find any semblance of control they can find, but it's not gonna happen. Sweater dropping Twiz, and it's Dream with the shotgun to the body of Riot through the wall, no less, to end the round and give the opener in clear favor of the defensive side of Oxygen.
Of course, Vertical's 2-piece will likely draw a lot of eyes, as you're watching right now, as it's drawing our eyes, as to how OXG were able to win that round. It took what was a 5v4 favoring Wichita Wolves to a 4v3 favoring Oxygen. Clearly not an insubstantial momentum change in the round. But what really did it was the worry that was created after it. You have Packret concerned about vertical down below, waiting second by second, trying to see if he can get this kill, and he does end up getting it. But it cost valuable time, and the 2 kills they acquired earlier, now as they want to try to move across the top floor, they've acquired that necessary control. They've opened up those vertical holes, cleared out that top floor, especially because of the drones they lost as well, down to 4 by the end of the round. They weren't able to keep track of Newers on the flank and weren't able to create all the necessary angles they needed to actually form and execute, or at least a decisive one.
Now the problem for the Wichita Wolves is you've lost what is normally the tertiary bomb site. So down goes what on paper should probably be the easiest site to win, at least for the attack on towards the defense. Oxygen, that's a real positive for them. They've knocked out what is normally the most difficult and can now move on to what is more in the realm of normality, especially for a set-in-stone squad like a Tier 1 organization. Can they build off of that, though? That's the real question. Is it the Wichita Wolves being caught out because of the site selection? Twiz already finding the opener onto verticals, so no hero play from a Jaeger, or otherwise this time the Thorn. Oxygen already losing that first, without any hope of a refrag immediately. Not the greatest start to this second round.
But it's a good trend if you're a Wichita Wolves fan. 2 rounds in a row now, they've been able to get the opening pick, and with no window that, well, not vertical this time, but anybody on Oxygen able to jump out of, no real opportunity to trade, as you mentioned. So the fact that 2 rounds in a row now, Wichita Wolves have managed to establish a very difficult trend to gather on the attack, and have now built upon it, with Bride just spotting Sweater's head between the railing. Wichita Wolves have set not only a very good foundation in round 2, but a very good foundation going forward. But as with everything, how you transition beyond that. We're down to 5, make that 4 drones, as Foxy does quite a lot of work. They've taken him down, and Dream will do some work in turn, but still, OXG have done quite a bit of damage to their utility.
On Dream, very lucky to be alive. You saw Riot playing through that white garage, unluckily unable to find the kill they were looking for across towards the bottom of white, but still a decent position for the Wichita Wolves to be in. You were talking about their drone count. It says 4 or 3 at the top left. It says 4, actually, but they only have access to 1 of them, because it's Riot being alive, of whom will now finally throw out that final drone. A chaotic position for them to be in, to say the very least, information being of a premium nowadays, but the Wichita Wolves at a bare minimum have cleared out a decent bit of utility and 3 of 5 players for the defense.
Wichita Wolves would like to rely on those flashbangs as well, but as Newers creeps up through Small Bake, he has those Warden glasses that can peer on through the flashbangs, so what Wichita Wolves might be hoping to mitigate that lack of intel and potentially some unknown positions on the defense could be mitigated by Newers maybe getting a kill, but also staying alive to use those glasses to peer through those flashbangs and negate the advantage Wichita Wolves might be hoping for. They're aiming for a freezer drop. Riot's next to it with the kit, and if they're not careful about Dream, he could kill them all as they drop.
Dream already throwing out their final 2 toxic babes, and the problem remains no utility left over for the defensive side other than that of the glasses of Warden. Those will only really negate the flashbangs you talked about earlier. They do still have them on Twiz, who is still alive for the time being. The spray from Dream does not land, not lethal enough damage done onto Riot, and now with Newers falling, it's down to just Dream. SMG-11 in hand will have to be reloaded. As Twiz is looking to take the fight, they will take it and they will fall. Still a 1 versus 2 here for Dream as they walk back in through the main corridor and looking to aggress into kitchen service itself. You can see Bino in kitchen cooking, waiting on the far side, but there's Riot playing off contact and playing for the round as Wichita Wolves will respond with one of their own.
So far, even though they lost that round, I'm optimistic going forward for Wichita Wolves. I think a lot of us going into this game, especially seeing what OXG were able to do against Astralis, a Pro League counterpart, dominating the entry game. I think we were all a little worried that it'd be the same thing against Wichita Wolves, what we perceived to be a lesser team. I think we can all agree, at least in terms of the standing, they are. But in the past couple rounds, able to get a kill on Fox in round 1, able to get 2 kills in round number 2 to start things out before they were traded back. I mean, can you really hope for more, especially after a round win like that? They were able to get some solid ground in round 1, but they ended up losing. Then they were able to get more in round 2 and close it out as well. Obviously, I can't make a prediction about this game. Can't say whether it's going to be competitive or a stomp. Wichita Wolves already in the past couple rounds with getting around on the board and doing well in the opening engagements, I think are overperforming.
Now, I, as an Astralis fan, expected Oxygen to win the quarterfinals. I'll give it away. I was minorly caster biased for my regular season cast for Astralis, but not enough to really relegate the whole point about it. And the other note for Astralis was the fact that the previous 2 rounds have already looked closer than the entirety of the Astralis matchup against Oxygen, and Wichita Wolves have played, what, 2 rounds compared to Oxygen and Astralis playing a total of 18, if I recall correctly, or 17, if my math is not served right. But either way, significantly better start for the Wichita Wolves compared to that of Astralis, and that, as you mentioned, of at least on paper, a lesser team. Now, when it comes to game day, anybody can beat anybody. It comes down to just skill, sometimes map pool, and who's on the squad. For Oxygen, it needs to come down to openers, and they've lost already both opening picks. Dream goes onto the dock, and Newers finds the opener, but down goes Dream, and so does Newers. Okay, well, Wichita Wolves finally lose an opening pick, but they turn that into a 4v3, giving me essences of Oxygen in round 1.
And not insubstantial players taken off the board either. I mean, only 2 rounds in, but so far the top performers, and Newers the top performer in the league overall. So Wichita Wolves not just answering back their loss of Bino, but getting 2 very substantial picks at that. Rye spots another one, just walking aimlessly through Pillar. Sweater looking up potentially towards the balcony or down below Brown Stairs, but he dies either way, no matter which way he was looking. Foxy also contemplates to drop, but there are 2 Wichita Wolves players just down below. He's got to be careful where he steps. At this point, he might walk right into Pack Rat's waiting arms. So many of Wichita Wolves smell blood in the water. They know that this round is close to over if they just get these last 2.
Vertical lucky they backed out of that far cigar shot position. Foxy does find a return, though, with a P90. The headshot onto Bry does bring it back to a 2v3. Certainly significantly more gettable than that 2v4. Packrat walking around the far side of Cocktail, almost swinging directly into the line of sight of Foxy, but for the time being is safe. Foxy still waits outside of the direct freezer, but can drop away should they require to do so. Rotate created just as a possible bait, but not enough damage done. A trade is immediately there with a C4 from below based off of solely information, but Vertical now in a 1 versus 2 needs to hold position and for a long period of time.
Doesn't have his C4, but Wichita Wolves have already shown in the mid-round that they can give themselves away to some silly picks, and Twizzler gives himself away to 1 HP. He's got the diffuser in hand as well, so the greater health Packrat will be the one to cover. Where is he? He's in dining at the moment. He's left his teammate completely defenseless, but the bomb goes down either way. Vertical just needs to put 1 bullet into that sledge to finish him off, but Packrat gives himself away as well. And intel on him, he knows he's behind, and an easy flick to finish off that round. A triple kill and a defuse gives OXG the lead.
Vertical, the hero once more here for Oxygen, and they retain their lead, or at least regain it. 5-2, by the way, for the current Mozzie, future most likely Jaeger, as they'll switch to reading and dining, most likely. But Oxygen, what a comeback into a round that was seemingly lost, especially with Foxy on the top floor, not only creating so much space for the defensive side, but giving away so much information and time that Wichita Wolves just could not come back from. There's Vertical, clutching things up in the end. The 1 versus 2, not likely by any means, but the omniscience to look around towards dining first before aggressing into mining itself, that was really situationally aware that sometimes isn't always come by.
It's around a game that we're not too confident Wichita Wolves will actually be able to close out. Not the kind of round you want to slip away in a 1v2 where Twizzler was even able to get the bomb down on 1 HP. And you just see Packrat assuming that the Mozzie's inside of reading where he was earlier, but not playing close on Twizzler or trying to play off their contact. The kind of round where you need to try and secure if you want any hope of not only just taking this game, but taking this map as well. We will go back to reading and dining, the site we started out on, and the site where we saw Foxy go down first, but then, of course, Vertical hop out of the window very soon after. But focusing on Foxy would be very important.
Another note, by the way, Vertical is switching from 1 German operator back in round number 1 to another German operator here in round number 4, from the Jaeger onto the Bandit. I gotta say, a little bit of a surprising selection, considering the site, and the fact that there was only an ace brought in the first round of play, not really requiring a Bandit, if I do say so myself. I don't think that first round was as close as I think Oxygen are making enough switches to indicate.
Well, I mean, if Wichita Wolves maybe are, or if Oxygen are worried about Wichita Wolves using that ace to be the one inroad, if they're able to actually get that opening pick again, not have 2 bodies lost to a run out, and then use the holes made in pillar as a way to convert that early round success to a late round advantage, maybe, but Vertical could also just want the MP7 to use and get the extra C4, which, of course, is the only one that Oxygen are supplying so far. Having that secondary utility destroy anybody on Vertical could be a host in and unto itself. But Sweater looking to repeat that play that Vertical just went through, shoots one drone and shoots a little bit of bullets over towards the generator player, but nothing beyond a little bit of contact.
I honestly think he would have been better off just jumping out there and looking for the kill, but he didn't know exactly where Bryce sat, so instead had to actually shoot the drone and initiate the gunfight because of it. MP7 for Vertical will also find a drone. We've had the drone conversation. Wichita Wolves a little bit better in managing that the previous 3 rounds or so, especially considering round number 1 was as chaotic as it indeed was. Round number 2, still a conversation point. But here in round number 3, they still have 8 drones into the final 90 seconds of the round. So halfway through, now they're down to 7, considering it was just shot in front of Rita.
Backrat knows someone's inside a laundry, or at least has an idea that somebody might be lurking around in that site. It's Foxay at the moment. Not roaming like we saw before, instead content to go for the Vertical just now. But Packrat walks on in with no teammate support and seemingly no intel as he gets finished off by Foxay, but that was a Vertical angle he succumbed to. And well, another example that Wichita Wolves are somewhat a little bit shoddy when it comes to that mid-round, and now they lack that opening advantage. It's going to be a lot harder to fight back. The Smoke's choking out Riot's way, still makes it through. 2 kills go Wichita Wolves' way as well. The Smoke and the Warden now down. Make that a Bandit for 3 as Wichita Wolves take the top floor.
Clean aggression and well-timed from the Wichita Wolves, making it from the 5v4 to now a 4 versus 2. Newer's looking to retreat towards the site. I don't know if their feet are seen, but Foxay on the outside of the reading door trying to play for a sneaky drop should they decide to fall from the top floor without fully clearing what they need to do so. Conversation about drones. Now 3 currently available for the Wichita Wolves to move around, 5 in terms of visual efficacy throughout the rest of the round. Newer's still playing Vertical. You can see Foxay on the far side still just waiting around that reading door, and they have yet to clear the Solace out of position. Finally, as it's mentioned, down goes Foxay, and Newer's now needs to clutch up. Riot initiating that defuse plant, and Newer's is being pincered upon. Does find a first onto Bry, but the second as Bino drops into Laundry will close him away, and the Wichita Wolves, once more, will tie things up.
Tie things up, and if they just were able to close out that 2v1, this could be a 3-1 scoreline for Wichita Wolves right now, and that fact alone is enough to be impressed in the first half against Oxygen, especially because Wichita Wolves able to win that round after not having that opening pick. They end up losing it, end up dropping a body, and then they just storm on through Cocktail, and the gunfights go their way, and then they're able to adapt as well. The one concern I've had so far is their ability to transfer that opening advantage, those opening picks, into late round success, because it's been a little bit hit or miss. That's worked in round number 2, and then it didn't end up working in round number 3. That one not only showed a lot of success, but also just able to not stall yourself out, cut your losses, and go for a big play that ends up panning out.
Hero play is always a chaotic conversation, because Oxygen coming back into this, especially in round number 3, required a hero play off the back of Vertical. But in the same conversation, Wichita Wolves may not have had the hero plays later in the round, nor in clutches, but it's still been a conversation point in the mid-round, where we were talking about them not having as much hold in the mid-round conversation, especially when they dropped that opening pick and took way too long in the top floor. But right after, it was just aggression, notably Riot walking in on the new balcony, Oxygen just not there for a response, and again, the conversation arises, is there a response from Oxygen after you losing another round in which, well, you preceded it with a win?
They'll try, make it happen on Cocktail. First time we've seen this site so far in the match. They're playing very far up inside of Pixel. He's got that Castle Barricade and that Aruni Gate to cut off anybody pushing in from Cigar. He's certainly a player with enough gun skill to make this very aggressive position work out in his favor. Wichita Wolves will start to focus on that Humidor and that Cigar drop. Packrat will drop down into red. As the player, normally either a smoke or a mute of some kind will be playing inside of that Humidor, but none can be found and none are on the board. Instead, it's Bry that goes down first, and as the Candelas fly on in, Wichita Wolves, maybe they're taking this one quick. There's no follow-up after the utility.
Oxygen also now take the lead in terms of opening duels won. Just a Bit of a note, Newers, being aggressed upon up the white stairs, hears it, looks to spray down Packret, shoots a drone, and then Packret's head in seemingly consecutive bullets, and finds another opening kill, Vertical with one of their own, almost certainly ending the round as long as Oxygen hold on to their 5 versus 2 advantage, and Vertical will almost certainly put the nail or the 45 ACP shot in the coffin as Newers jumps out just for some style and gains Oxygen at a bare minimum, the tie at halftime and the lead once more.
I didn't expect the worst attack from Wichita Wolves to come on Cocktail, which tends to be, even though it's one of the more favorite sites, primary or secondary, tends to be sometimes very difficult to defend, and you have to kind of slot yourself into one of 3 strats in order to make work. But Wichita Wolves, we saw Packrat drop down red, first 45 seconds. All right, taking some good control very quickly, very decisively. Can't complain about that. Then we hear the Candelas go in, and at that point, it's not entirely clear what Wichita Wolves' strategy is. Because then you just have one guy solo pushing up white, one guy solo on the skylight, somebody on red stairs by themselves as well. Seemed like Wichita Wolves' game plan was to go for some kind of rush, then they get a call to stop, get a call to back off, then they just funnel in one by one and end up falling. Still a 2-3. Can't entirely give them too much flack for putting up a solid performance so far, but definitely very questionable round as we go into their final attack.
Now the final attack onto Mining and Dining once more, or officially Fireplace and Mining, but nobody ever calls it that, ever. Wichita Wolves need to put together a little bit more of a consistent take, as they did honestly in round number 4, but this time they need to remove the clutch factor of Vertical, which in all fairness is easier said than done, just casually has 8 kills through 5 rounds with only 3 deaths to boot. But the other conversation point for the Wichita Wolves especially is, can they long-term hold real estate that they've gained based off of merit? Because that seemingly has not been the case. In rounds 1 or otherwise, they have not held down real estate that they've gained, whether it's been given to them or been taken, for a long period of time in order to give themselves a long-term advantage.
Packrat acquires a bit of real estate earlier on. He's definitely been very quick to acquire map control, even if he does end up giving it up. He's confidently in the building or the site in no time at all, and sometimes it's for the better, sometimes it's for the worse. In this case, to be determined. Nothing's happened just yet. He's on that Jackal to maybe find any roamers or anybody who's tread down below that he can help and gain some utility later on, or just hold the flank in case anybody does use that avenue for rotation. OXG are known for their lurks, for their late deep flanks, especially from Fox A on any number of operators. So staying down there for a minute and a half, 2 minutes could end up netting a kill while the rest of his team tries to focus on that top floor inside of Christmas.
Vertical being droned out of position should have to move in the fairly near future. You can see aggression coming from multiple different facets. The new balcony, with Newers dropping the opener onto Packrat. That's down on the bottom floor, where Packrat was looking for that possibility of a flank, is instead flanked upon, and there's the opening kill. The other conversation point around that, by the way, is the Wichita Wolves trying to drop any semblance of this top floor control out of position. They're just, again, taking too long to do so and expending way too much utility. Bry is out of nades, didn't find any kills with it. Twiz does drop down the red stairs and finds a kill in return on Newers. That's a significant positive trade and utility there for Oxygen.
Get a net gain out of it, and Wichita Wolves struggling to get that final attack. Really struggling that they want to get it, not struggling that it's impossible so far. Those odds might change as we go down to only 3 drones remaining and Twizzler on 1 HP. The main source of soft destruction already putting good work, but one stray bullet from inside a train, many of the 2 defenders inside of train, could be the end of him. He'll extricate himself from that situation for the time being. Wichita Wolves have good control so far, good angles opened up, and they'll be able to even it up, but as that C4 flies out, ooh! Shot in mid-air. Excellent play by Wichita Wolves. Still have the equilibrium. They can start to push down, but as Twizzler gets taken off the board, things might not be in the same.
1-for-1 trade is still there, though, and Sweater's taken care of. That's the Warden out of commission, but in all fairness, the Warden wouldn't have done all that much anyway. Considering the fact that Bino was out of flashbangs, that's a lot of utility that really would not have played a part in the round. Bry taking full reading control will at least relegate most of the north and east sides of the map in favor of the Wichita Wolves. They now need to aggress in towards Dining. Here's Dream, the Grizzly Bear himself, long range, the C4 just narrowly missing, but it may not matter. A 1-for-1 trade with Riot and Vertical Vertical directly trading one another. They're trying to clear him out of this close position. Here's Bry on the backside of the main train, who does find the kill. But it's Foxy now in a 1 versus 2. We've seen 1v2s before, notably from players who wield an SMG, but it's not going to happen this time around. Foxy and Bry, a direct trade for the second time in the exact same round, will favor the Wichita Wolves with their sole player remaining and tie things up at the half.
And again, if Wichita Wolves are just able to close out that 1v2 against Vertical, this could be a positive half for Wichita Wolves. This is, I mean, it's already positive, not in the literal sense, but it's positive that you've just gone 3-3 on Cafe, which typically tends to be sometimes the harder side on Cafe. But if you're able to clutch out that 1v2 and get a positive half over a Pro League team, I mean, I'd be singing in the team comms if I was able to land that. So this is absolutely a win for Wichita Wolves going into their defenses. The fact that they were able to get that 3-3, to get those 3 attacks, and in many cases make them look sometimes, you know, if they struggled a little bit, still make them clean at points. I'm certainly happy with the level they played so far.
2 new operators and 4 conversation points here for the Wichita Wolves defense. They're bringing the Frost and putting the Mats down in not out of the norm positions, but certainly questionable ones. You could see one inside of the main Christmas room on the top floor. The other was inside of Cigar Shop on the backside of the desk. And I believe, well, Twiz was going to put the third down, but has already done so. The other 2 conversation points are the fact that Packrat is bringing in the Rook. So an extra 20 HP and the fact to withstand there for the defensive side alongside Riot's Doc. I am kind of scared for the Oxygen attack, considering there's just a casual increase in HP. I don't know if they know they downed Packrat. They don't! Packrat may be able to withstand. Doesn't even need help. Oh, he will. That's criminal. And he's gonna be healed up. Watch this.
Yeah, I mean, I hope he gets healed up, you know. Give yourself a chance to fight another day, but Packrat has definitely been a little concerning at points so far. He's been the one, at least traditionally, for Wichita Wolves in their attacking half to maybe be a little bit too separated or a little bit too aggressive when it comes to pushing into the site, for example. He's downed, albeit potentially accidentally, down below. Still goes to show that Packrat, if there is going to be a weak point on Wichita Wolves, it might be the one to serve as that opening or that ability to capitalize. After all, Fish was the highest rated player on Wichita Wolves going into today, and Packrat is the one trying to fill his shoes. That ends up being your weakest link. It's going to be a tough defensive half, even though you've got a 3-3.
Oh, the nade poorly timed. Twizzler still able to find the kill on the Sweater, but Sweater opens the Mira in return. So a trade in utility, but not particularly kills here for the attacking side of Oxygen. And losing the Ashe and now the Habana, notably enough. Not the greatest start for them. Almost a third dropped as well. As you can see, Packrat does not care, is still aggressing. Surprisingly with a 1.5 on the MP5.
Ooh, Vertical. Creeping down inside of red, you've reached that 3v5 point where you're going to need to start getting a little quirky, trying to make some plays. Newers is always good for that kind of thing. He gets the first kill for OXG. Riot taken off the board, but he's on Repel right now. He's going to have to move on in and start pushing forward. Packrat might not be accounted for. Only 5 drones left, but as the time dwindles down, they might not know he's playing inside of that Humidor. Wichita Wolves have all started to consolidate around their respective positions, and even if Packrat falls, players behind a mirror window on Cocktail Balcony might still be able to have this.
Packrat's still waiting inside of the Cigar Shop shelves and has yet to be cleared out of position. The lack of drones for the attacking side, at least actionable ones, has cost them just a little bit. Vertical, the last one with any remaining. Foxy still does a decent bit of damage and finally finishes off the kill, but it took them a little bit longer than I think they would have liked. Down to 20 seconds now for the attacking side. The Adrenal Surge helps them gain at least 20 HP back per player, with that dissipating on both Vertical and Newers, considering they're above that full HP margin. Twizzler now aggressing in the white hallway, finds a kill onto Foxy. Vertical does find the trade, is looking for a follow-up onto Twizzler, and needs to do so sooner rather than later, but I don't think they're going to clear Bino out of position. The C4 thrown through, but it's shot out of thin air, and Bino cannot aggress without being contested on that far side of white. There's the first kill. The defuse, put down, and Bino lags! Newers gets the kill because of it. Bino stuck in singular position, couldn't do a dang thing about it, and Oxygen take the lead.
Unfortunate round to lose as well. You see Packrat in chat mentioning it. That has got to be a heartbreaker, especially in or in the context of that earlier lost 1v2, Wichita Wolves now dropping another round that maybe they shouldn't have won after or maybe they should have lost. After Bino is able to kill that player covering, that seemed like a free kill onto Dream. He knows where he's planting, knows he's about to come up, knows where his head is going to be, and then end up having that unfortunate freeze. And overall, I mean, it wasn't a terrible round from Wichita Wolves. Able to start things out on the right note, able to kill Sweater earlier on. And unfortunately, Packrat did end up proving to be the player that Oxygen were able to bring back that man advantage with. Packrat stuck inside of the Humidor, stuck inside of Cigar Shop, playing by himself. OXG pinch him out. That's the 3v3. They then send their push up Whitehall and are able to play man advantage off of the players once they get that initial kill. So one thing that Wichita Wolves need to get locked on their defense, aside from their internet connection, is making sure that they're not giving up any of those picks and they're playing close together in the late round.
I have to say, I think Bino should have won that, but
oh yeah,
the Wi-Fi diff just comes through, and that one hurts.
Do you think that's a signal that they should have got Wi-Fi to sub in instead of Packrat?
I mean, probably that, or they should have just gone on the other side of the bracket, considering Wi-Fi was in this tournament until, you know, ever so courteously knocked out by AAA. Unfortunate, but still, Wichita Wolves are in this, and that 1 versus 2 almost clutched up. The C4 was good, the shot out of it was even better, but the clutch attempt was certainly there. And even if it doesn't come through, that's at least a little bit of momentum given to Wichita Wolves, even with the loss, because you say, hey, we should have won that, it's not something we can control, we can now come back from that in a better fashion. And Oxygen now need to respond because, well, now they have to deal with possibly losing the round, or in this case, winning it based off of some misconnection.
45 seconds in as Wichita Wolves are retrying the cocktail site. Bringing that mirror again is a choice I very much like, because if you don't have Bino end up lagging out, maybe a Packrat playing closer, those black mirrors can be so difficult to deal with. I believe it. Good nade by Foxay puts Bino down to 1 HP. Foxay sitting on that cocktail rappel, try to put pressure onto the players playing on that cocktail side. Sometimes we'll see players either go below or on that rappel to do and clear out that position. Foxay, in this case, has opted for the latter, while the rest of his team tries to deal with Twizzler inside of Cigar, and Christmas, or his Dream, takes down Right as the opening pick.
Twizzler almost followed up upon, but luckily, it's not the case here for the Wichita Wolves. Never mind, he's naded out of position, may be able to be healed right back up in terms of being retrieved, but maybe wasting the withstand in this conversation, and does indeed. Twizzle pick themselves back up. Either way, it's 20 HP, and you probably won't get another opportunity to use it, but still a conversation point there for WW.
2 players on 1 HP. Twizzler desperately wanting to win this gunfight. EX Kairos landing on his mirror. He'll have to get aggressive or rotate out. Neither of which a particularly satisfying or enticing option with him on low HP. And Packrat being down, that means Bry is the only one who can withstand any number of bullets. The rest of his team, just one shot will take down 3/4 of all of Wichita Wolves.
I don't like their chances of staying alive long term either. The problem is the fact they've taken so much damage from just utility, so it may be unrecognized damage here for Oxygen. They do see the blood trail of the Frost from earlier, just not so much onto Packrat, so they know at least one player's low, have suspicions onto another. The spray from Foxay almost landing, but unfortunately does not long term. He still occupies that top skylight, but Bry, even on that full HP, the last one above that full HP margin, finds the opening kill in the later stages of the round. And now with 30 seconds, here come Oxygen. They need to be able to retake. Long hallway, now occupied by Bryce. They drop away, so does Packrat. The headshot from Foxay finally lands, and a follow-up from the Sledge, no less. Newers another onto Bry, leaves Bino in the 1 versus 3. The first player to fall low will be the last player to die, as Oxygen extend the lead to 2 and are shutting the Wichita Wolves out of Cafe.
Much more dominant victory for OXG on this site as well. Doesn't come down to a 1v1 where Bino ends up lagging and potentially tossing the fight. No, this one was a lot more decisive through and throughout. Wichita Wolves might have been able to trade back the opening pick, but because of how consistent the secondary utility was from OXG, able to put Bino to low HP with a grenade, down Twizzler with the grenade as well, and then also able to take down Packrat. I mean, the Rook armor was doing quite a bit of work for everyone on Wichita Wolves, but OXG were able to do a lot more work in actually clearing out these positions and not just having Wichita Wolves rotate out of them and rotate away successfully. There's only so much you can do from withstanding. You might be on low HP, But with OXG able to have such a solid early to mid round without dropping too much with their overall team, they're able to convert very easily because of how much Wichita Wolves were on low health.
Wichita, they need to be able to take those early fights without taking too much damage, and or take the early fights, take a little bit of damage, but win the fight overall. That's been the main problem for them, is taking definitive gunfights in their own favor. And the only really way to manage that is getting aggressive in odd positions. That hasn't really been the case for them. They've been taking fairly straightforward gunfights around Miras, through rotates, where they are expected to be, notably with a nade onto Twizzler into Pixel in the previous round. That's an expected position to play without any utility denial on the defensive side. A Jaeger, a Wamai, anything would have been useful. None of the above was brought through.
None brought through this time either. Ooh, a very quick set of engagements. Neither team gaining an advantage after they end, at least in terms of the man count itself, but in terms of the utility, unequivocally favors Wichita Wolves. You have the Kapkan, who places all of his utility at the beginning of the round, as opposed to Foxay, who has 2 of the attack's 4 sets of nades, and now the other set of nades is taken off the board as well. Rai, so far, the performer for Wichita Wolves in this matchup, and going into this game as well, him alongside Fish were the 2 main positively rated players for Wichita Wolves. He's able to get that second pick and take out not only Oxygen's top fragger, but also their only other set of nades.
I suppose in that case, 2 fraggers in terms of frag grenades.
I see what you did there. That was clever.
Oxygen losing their fraggers in both the pun way and the not so pun way. There is still vertical on the board, but you know, Fincanades no longer exist. I still vote she gets them back, considering it's Finca and they kind of nerfed the spear and the LMG, but that's, you know, just me. Oxygen's 3 versus 4, though, certainly possible to come back from. We've seen them do so before in even more daring positions, but the problem is long-term clearing out what is now a defensive side and getting aggressive in these positions. You can see Wichita Wolves have largely fallen off of this top floor hold, and understandably so. They don't want to get over-aggressive in positions where they're either A, not favored, or B, they don't need to take the fights, and they understand that. Correct disengage from the Wichita Wolves.
The IQ and the Finca now moving into train. Nobody inside just yet, but players just on white stairs playing around that hallway while holding angles that can stop OXG if they just barrel on through. Packard also looking for some utility. Will spot the X-Kairos, and the angle now opened up on that pillar wall. OXG, even with once they have that, they need to be careful of these players above them and in front of them. So many angles going the Wolves' way, but Sweater able to fight back, make it a 3v3, and as Bry gives up another engagement, it swings back to OXG.
And now they're getting aggressive from the 3 versus 4, now to the 3 versus 2. Riot still playing aggressive, as is now Bino, right in front of Laundry, who will fall back and out of position. The problem, there's no definitive line of sight here for the Wichita Wolves to deny this plant, of which is going down in the only safe corner. The C4 goes through, is not shot, but it also does not find damage. Vertical, however, will do the opposite. Will find a first, looking for a second, will not be able to find it onto Riot, who is now looking to take the fight onto Dream, and drops him as well, turning the round into a nightmare. The Wichita Wolves come back from a 2-round skid and gain one of their own, bringing themselves to within 1.
And an excellent recovery by Wichita Wolves as well, because there were a couple missteps in that round. We see Bry up above, who has a very useful position. He's playing that vertical. He can stop anybody pushing in through the site. He ends up peeking onto that new balk with over 50 seconds left. And that's exactly what OXG were hoping for, especially once Sweater got that kill inside of the site, because they didn't really have the control necessary to make that decisively in their favor. They needed to spend those, I'd say 30 of the remaining 50 seconds, that's just kind of a ballpark number, but some amount of time in that remaining to try and make it a little bit more decisive, to lurk, probe for picks, try and find openings. And one was created by them with the X-Kairos and Pillar, but Bry gave them another one by peeking from Newbound down below. Then OXG are able to move on in, and Wichita Wolves still win it with a 1v1, and an excellent recovery by Bino, because that was a round that we almost sold.
Well played from Riot in the end as well, coming back in that fight, even in the 1 versus 2. Bino really opened the door for Riot, not only taking the original fight around towards the far 90 corner of the red hallway, but then aggressing through the rotate of Dyna. Either way, you lose it, but you still open up the opportunity and damage Vertical down just a little bit to make it significantly more possible. We will see a Kapkan in a consecutive round here for the defensive side. This time it's Riot on the Kapkan rather than Twizzler of the previous round, of whom switches to the Oryx, surprisingly enough. I believe that's our first Oryx selection, not the first player wielding a T5, however. And, oh, Packrat now looking to spawn peek. So, if you're going to find opening picks, I suppose, this is the way to do it.
Well, this is just most normal Packrat play. He'll probably even commit to it now that Bry's down as well, just knowing how Packrat tends to play. Bry, of course, now not taken off the board. He just managed to crawl away from that grenade. But Sweater, this is not his first rodeo, okay? He's been around the block a few times. Riot decides to go for the revive, and Sweater knows that Bry might be too hot a commodity for them to just let die on the floor. Dream also aware of somebody peeking out that main door, but he decides to rappel up instead. Twizzler able to fight back with one. He takes down the all-important player that is Newers. But so far, we're only a minute in, and whatever Wichita Wolves have gained have cost them Bry, Riot, and most of Twizzler's HP.
And Packrat as well. Vertical through the floor, or the bottom side of the wall at a bare minimum, will drop the Canadian operator out of contention, leaves just Wamai and Oryx, Bino and Twizzler in this 2 versus 4. The beeper goes off around the white stairs, but Twizzler also indicates the fact that they're aware of it and in position to deny it, falling back in towards Christmas, with Sweater holding the long and drop-down angle towards that position. But the lack of aggression here for the Wichita Wolves is understandable. They want to force Oxygen into crossfires or disadvantageous gunfights, and Oxygen's not going to give them the time of day.
Probably doesn't give Twizzler the time of day. Couldn't even, somehow buy any of his health back. No, he just falls right in the middle of White Hallway. And Bino has to clutch now 1v4. 4 kills would make him go 7 and 6, make him go positive, and also even up the round count. Make it 4 and 5v5, but not today, unfortunately. Dream sends that one to the post office. He's done with it. Doesn't care anymore. He's on to match point along with the rest of OXG. And I've already mentioned it a couple times, so, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I just want us to realize something, okay? As OXG go to match point on Wichita Wolves map, 2 rounds that Wichita Wolves gave away, combined with one that they just managed to claw back 2 rounds ago now. There is an actual reality in which if they had just closed out the 2 rounds where they got an advantage and lost it, and then add the 1v1 that we just saw them win 2 rounds ago, this map could be over. Just want to get that out there. Just want to get it out there.
Or at a bare minimum, it could just be 6-4 back the other way. This
that too?
Certainly could be the conversation point that Wichita Wolves are in the favor significantly going into round 11, rather than the opposite, where they need back-to-back rounds. And Oxygen, now as they will attack the bottom floor, can they close it out on a site that they have just picked up? It's more than likely, considering the small sample size of statistics we have to work with. But the Wichita Wolves always bring in some more odd decision-making in terms of their not only operator composition, but their playstyle around compositions. The one switch they are making, or 2, I suppose, in terms of operators, is they are subbing Twizzler off the Oryx and onto the Kapkan, Riot off the Kapkan and onto the Dock, and Packrat will go from the Frost to the Alibi, indicating more aggression with a lesser focus on trap ops / chaos for the defense. They want to play aggressive, they just want to make sure that Oxygen have a little bit more health when they do so.
Packrat's got to be careful going for the same spawn peak every time, because, OXG, you guys might not know this, but, they're a pretty solid team. If you keep going for the same spawn peak I've heard it. It's in the rumor mill, of course, but if you keep going for the same spawn peak every time, Foxe, who's been around since long before I even started watching comp, is probably going to get wise to your tricks. Unfortunately, Packrat, he's still young. He's got some time to learn, but he ends up giving away the first pick, though Wichita Wolves do get one back.
Nice little C4 chuck over at that tree window from Twizzler. Does find a return, and Bry, after that early engagement, will actually be healed up courtesy of Riot's stim pistol. Bry still looking to get aggressive around that center of red stairs, but Vertical, wise to that as well, has yet to use any of their error jabs, but maybe not required in doing so. The sound cue as to their teammate hopping on a drone, I believe that being Dream on the close corner. Here's the jump out, and there's the kill. Nice little bit of a bait from Oxygen, well set up on that bakery roof, and just like that, they find the man advantage once more.
Definitely a lot of over-aggression from Wichita Wolves. You see Packrat dedicate himself to that spawn peek he's done time and time again that Oxygen are more than aware of. And then you see a minute 50 left in a 4v4 where I hop out of that window. I get, the idea of going for a play, maybe going 1-for-1, but once you've got that 4v4 and losing a body becomes a lot more meaningful, Wichita Wolves might just be giving things away a little bit in such a dire position on match point, on their map pick. They've looked good, but you don't want to start giving it away once you get closer and closer to the finish line. They're still in a 4v3 with a minute and 10 seconds left and some useful positions held. You have Riot down below, unsure if OXG are aware of him, but you have 7 drones on the board, and that is always something you need to worry about on the defense. And Foxy also opening up these holes from up above, so Wichita Wolves do have some bit of time left, but OXG are quickly gaining more and more control.
And it's vertical control as well, with Vertical himself still alive, always a chaotic and confusing combination for the Wichita Wolves to try and come back from. They are fairly spread out on the bottom floor. That is the one caveat to this current situation. The far east and west sides of the map fully occupied by the defensive side. Whether it be from Christmas or all the way across to Bakery, they have the man disadvantage, but the positional advantage is certainly still there. You can see how far spread they are. There's not a single body on the site itself. And look at Oxygen. They're now looking to walk into Bakery, but they may not clear Bino out of position. There's the sound cue. There's the swing. Bino will find a first, swing onto a second, and find that as well. The man advantage now there for the Wichita Wolves, and Vertical needs to look 3 different directions all at the exact same time. We'll find a first kill, but nothing past that, and Foxay with very little time and significantly less opportunities to even get onto the site, much less take the 2 fights, will almost certainly lose the round. They'll walk straight into the line of fire from the far side of Riot and lose to time as the Wichita Wolves will force a 12th round of regulation.
Very important round to win for Wichita Wolves, not just because of the fact that it's on match point and you want to deny for as long as you can the ability for OXG to win that match. They also get Kitchen off the board, which evaded them just the round prior. We'll have a timeout from OXG, potentially to disrupt the momentum from Wichita Wolves and also just try and consolidate and figure out a strategy for how they want to take this final site. Because, again, to give credit where credit is due to OXG, Wichita Wolves have not had an easy time on the defense. That was definitely the best victory they've had so far, as their only other one on Dining came down to a 1v1 post plant that they just narrowly managed to win. So whether they go back to Dining or they go up to Cocktail or they go to Mining of all sites as well, Wichita Wolves have not had a very easy time on the defense. So if you're able to just quiet down whatever flaws you have and maybe plan for what site Wichita Wolves might go to, it could be a timeout well spent.
Well, the concise part for the Wichita Wolves is the fact that the only other site that they have won has magically just unlocked in terms of reading and dining, that being the round 3 prior that we were talking about. The Riot clutch, very well done with assists from Bino prior. But the conversation point, especially here for the Wichita Wolves, is can they put it together once more? They will once more go to reading and dining or reading fireplace. But Oxygen lost this last time, albeit to a clutch. They weren't the cleanest of setups from Wichita Wolves, nor Oxygen in all fairness, but Chaos really thrives for the T3/T2 scene, and the Wichita Wolves are showing that in a lot of the rounds that they're winning, even some of the rounds that are coming close.
Packrat, please don't do this game small. Do
it again,
every
do it again,
round.
do it again, do it
No,
again,
no,
do it again, do it again.
Stop. Quiet. Already listed. Don't want them to take over in round 12. He's on Pulse as well, so of all the operators on a reading and dining defense, you'd want to give away who can be the most active, who can cause the most chaos, Daniel, since you want to talk about that.
I love chaos.
Well, perhaps, but I'm getting a little nervous. Just Packrat's down below.
In all fairness, this is relatively in the scope of normality for a Pulse to play down below. Just the way in which they do so is the conversation point. Here's Packrat just sitting in the corner of Kitchen Prep and doing very little. This is actually good for a Pulse to do very little in the opening segments of the round, not over-aggressing, not putting themselves out of a possible good position, and notably keeping themselves in the round and alive for the Cardiac Sensor to come into fruition and the C4 as well.
getting on cams. Not finding anybody just yet. Same with Bry so far. Though Bry not finding anybody might be a good thing. He hopped out of the window and ended up giving his life away in the previous kitchen round. That nade may find him very soon after. Oxygen focusing on clearing out that top floor. And thankfully, Wichita Wolves know the game plan. Know that they don't need to take those aggressive fights on the top floor or overstay their welcome. It's been a minute. That shield is now gone. Pull back over to Cocktail. Try to waste 30 more seconds to a minute if you can. Those mirror windows are your big strength on Cafe when she is left unbanned. And Bry has a very long angle, a number of windows inside of Christmas as well to make it work. If Wichita Wolves can just hold out on Cocktail for about 30 more seconds, OXG might just be in a rough spot.
Time now coming against this Oxygen attack. The sixth man for the defense coming to fruition, and that this is the real conversation point. Can they hold long term? And that's seemingly been the case in terms of the positive. Twizzler will back away from the white window, not wanting to overaggress in possible disadvantageous gunfights. C4 thrown forward. Will it land? No. Goes a little bit too far. A direct trade. Bry and Sweater goes 1 for 1. That is the trade of the Warden and the Nook, seemingly favoring the defensive side, considering Nook wields nades. And Oxygen now playing from behind in terms of utility count. Not so much man count.
Well, playing behind in terms of time as well. Bry might give his life for the cause, but he gives his life to a very valiant mission. Time will favor Wichita Wolves the more they can drain down, but Packrat caught once again. That heartbeat sensor that can provide so much intel on that top floor, no longer a factor, and Wichita Wolves on the back foot. Twizzler trying to keep track of these angles and keep track of the oncoming OXG players, but it might not be enough.
Not at all, and down to just 1 C4. That's the only semblance of utility, and the only player remaining here for the Wichita Wolves. It's Bino in a 1 versus 4. Low HP for Newers. That's the only caveat to this current situation. His position known. He swings for a long-range gunfight with only the Vector in hand. He'll die to Newers, of whom did damage to him prior, will convert onto that prior damage, and will work it into a map victory for Oxygen Esports as they take Cafe by storm.
OXG's map pick as well, one that Wichita Wolves did not want to lose, and one that will be exceptionally bittersweet as they talk things out in between maps 1 and 2, because this went the distance in regulation. It became a 7-5, and there were 2 rounds that if they were just able, in fact, even just 1 round, if they were able to clutch it out, this could be overtime, a completely different situation. That 1v2 against Vertical, that clutched later on in the attacking half, that OXG were able to win as well. If Wichita Wolves were able to close out just a couple more rounds, 2 more, this would have been a map win 1-0 against a Pro League team, which is something that not any of us predicted, but Wichita Wolves just very, very narrowly missed out on.
And the chaotic, again, part there for the Wichita Wolves is some of those rounds were not entirely their fault. Sometimes being caught off of a timing because Oxygen, again, just casually a professional team playing at this level, that's going to happen occasionally. The other part is Bino in that 1 versus 2, lag getting the better of them, just an unfortunate turn of events that just, you have to feel bad for the Wichita Wolves. Because that round alone, in a seemingly obvious advantageous gunfight, that would have sent us to OT, but it's just not the case, and the Wichita Wolves now need to recuperate as we head to Club as map 2.
Well, what can you say? What else can you say, Daniel? I mean, Wichita Wolves, they're down 1-0. They've lost their pick, but there's some hope left. There's some light in the end of the tunnel. We saw a good enough performance on map 1 to maybe justify a close map 2. Is that for us to say? No. That's for the desk to talk and break down as they talk about a very close but surprising loss for Wichita Wolves.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The Wichita Wolves have come to fight tonight, and fight they did, but alas, they were so close to that bite of the apple to get them to overtime. They couldn't quite do it. Oxygen Esports takes map number 1 here, but a bit bumpy throughout. I'm Corbeck here on the desk with Nix and Klimps, and apparently it is our duty to talk about map number 2, and we will get there eventually. But first, a little bit of a recap of map number 1. You've got the replays going for you right there, and I mean, Oxygen, they hit some clear air turbulence right there, guys. I don't think that was as much of a walkover as they really thought it was going to be.
Absolutely not. Like, I gotta point out, like, right off the rip here, we did have the Wolves just honestly giving me a very reminiscent, almost repeat of the LG versus Oxygen game in round 3. The pacing was almost identical. The only thing that was really causing anything as far as hiccups go on the side of the Wichita Wolves were really simple things. And when I say simple things, we're talking maybe getting hit by a Legion goo, getting it stuck in your leg, pulling it out, and somebody just swinging. So it was very unfortunate, but there's a potential for them to bring it back in this next map.
It's a possibility, and taking a look here at the stats, I think you pointed out, Klimps, that Vertical really kind of performing surprisingly well here. I mean, all of Oxygen playing great, but Vertical in particular stood out to you.
Yeah, Vertical throughout at least most of the season where I've been watching OXG, I haven't seen him do too much. He's been rather quiet in a lot of these SCS matches, but tonight, clearly the favorite, stepping up on the leaderboard as we are used to, especially from watching him throughout the NAL this year, having that MVP on his back. I mean, a very strong player. Newers is always out there showing and shining out as well. 3-0 on the entry. Those are pivotal things and pivotal factors that are leading to Oxygen's success right now. Wichita Wolves just a little short of that.
Indeed, and you may have noticed, of course, that during the break we took our opportunity to change into our after 9 p.m. wear here at SCS. It's all flannels all the way down. The flannel hour, actually, in fact, we couldn't resist when we saw our fine casters wearing. We had to go along with it, so there you go, repping the bling. But speaking of repping the bling, I mean, this was impressive for the Wichita Wolves. I don't think that I said, there's fighting the dog, right? They can definitely put it up. When you look at this, Knicks, they're so close, right, to that overtime. Do you think that's something that they can potentially kind of build on here, or do you think that's a little bit of a blow to the psyche that they can't really recover from?
Well, I really feel like Wichita Wolves, if you watched really closely to a lot of those rounds, they didn't give up. There was absolutely just as much bark as there was bite from the Wichita Wolves. And I feel like as they get closer and closer to that overtime, they just really light it up. And actually, we're going to go ahead and highlight round number 9 here. This one very, very particular, where you do see essentially what looks like an almost perfect round for Oxygen. They go in, get the plant down, everything just looks absolutely perfect. But at the end, you just really don't know who's going to win it out, because things just constantly are being back and forth. I know, Korvac, you and I kind of had a little funny earlier, where it literally was like the stock exchange. They're exchanging bodies and they're exchanging rounds.
They're just trading all the time. And I know, Klimps, you in that round too, you were very impressed that round number 9 by how good kind of the stick-to-itiveness was there.
Yeah, things just back and forth between these teams, and Riot to get that clutch out. Those are some of the rounds that WW need, and they continue to need. And if they had gotten maybe 1 or 2 more of those, just as Carter said, just as TTL had said, then we might see ourselves still playing that game on Cafe. But on the other end, just fallen a little bit short in that match, and it was a good match. It really was. I'm impressed at WW. Don't count them out, because they're continuing to make a fight out of this game. Everyone thought it was going to be a wash. I mean, Astralis wasn't even this close in their match just yesterday, and WW looked 10 times better.
10 times better. I mean, I kind of agree with you. I think you and I both said in those early rounds too, we were like, wow, Wichita Wolves, they're punching above their weight here tonight. It was a lot better performance, I think, from them than was expected. So that jolt of energy coming off of that RTV win, I think, carrying them through, at least in the early stages of Cafe. Unfortunately, though, it wasn't to be. Looking ahead to map number 2, Clubhouse, Nix, do you think this is just Oxygen, more Oxygen? Or do you think that there is actually a chance that the onus was put on us by Lynx to discuss this? Do you think there is actually a chance Wichita Wolves can snatch victory from the jaws of defeat here?
If any map out of the pool that we have that we're playing tonight, it's going to be Clubhouse. And I have to just stand by it, just from, being a coach, being a player myself. Clubhouse is just like Oregon, like we talked in that previous matchup with Aerial Arise. It's kind of one of those maps you just have to know how to play it. There's a million different ways to play it. There's easily just as many ways to play it default as well. So if either one of these teams wants to run away with the victory, we already know Oxygen knows how to play it. They're a pro league team. They're where they are for a reason. But if Wichita Wolves wants to come out with a win, this is a 100% the map to do it on.
Yeah, and then we haven't seen a lot out of Oxygen, at least on Clubhouse as of late. If my memory serves me correctly, back to Berlin a half a year ago. very different roster, very different team, different meta, different playstyle. Everything is different from what we've seen on Oxygen's last time on Clubhouse to where we are here now. This being their map pick, I expect something good out of Oxygen, but WW, I mean, don't count them out with how close that Cafe match was. And I feel like Cafe is a map they've always played very close. I do expect it to be another close map.
I feel like every time you put since Berlin in front of it, it gives it a cool Cold War era-esque, like, oh no, what happened in Berlin?
What happened in Berlin?
Fancy.
It's fancy, almost
indeed.
like you look exactly like Carter. I have to say, like, Cormac, you look exactly like Carter. And look at you, you got the shirt underneath. Like,
You
he looks
don't
like
need
a
to drag.
dad.
You don't need to drag that poor man into the mud. Okay, he's all right. But speaking of Carter, it's my time to throw you back over to two lumberjacks who have come down from the timberline to moonlight as casters. It's Lynx, and it's time to light.
Well, map 2 on the horizon. I didn't know that we possessed the lumberjack adjective, considering we just brought flannels into the fray. But Carter, how do you feel about it? Moving into Clubhouse specifically, it is Wichita Wolves on the back foot, because not only did they lose their own map pick, but they lost it to Oxygen, who's been looking pretty clean thus far this season.
Here's the thing, right?
Mhm.
Here's what I'm gonna say. I just have one or two thoughts on this matchup. Because I know, you know, Clubhouse can be... It can be an equalizer. It can be a map that anybody can win. But do you really, as a man or woman or anybody in 2022, do you want to fight Newers on Clubhouse? Do you want to fight Sweater or Vertical on Clubhouse? If you're not answering no to that, stop. Just what are you doing? Rethink your life. Because, yes, taking a T3 team to Clubhouse, it's an equalizer. But pound for pound, gun for gun, Dan, I just don't know if OXG are... If there's a world where they're not going to be outgunning Wichita.
I don't want to face Newers, period, whether it's on Clubhouse or otherwise, as
I mean,
last
that
map
too.
obviously indicated. Speaking of our bans, by the way, because Hibana's an obvious ban, Mira is as well. I'm a little surprised that Oxygen banned Mira, and that Wichita Wolves didn't, considering if Oxygen left it open, Wichita Wolves basically would have been forced. Instead, they decided to go back to the Azami ban. The other ban that I really want to bring up is the Ying. For obvious reasons. A, it's the only one that's really out of the realm or even scope of normality on a consistent basis. But you know, the other three bans are relatively straightforward. What do you make of the Ying ban for Oxygen, especially considering they start on the attack?
What do I make of the Ying ban? I think you want to take as many cheese tools out of Wichita Wolves' arsenal as you possibly can. I mean, this is your map pick. This is a map that, as I mentioned, and as you also astutely pointed out, just this is true for every map. If Wichita Wolves are going to have to take heads-up gunfights with Newers, with Vertical, with Sweater, don't give them a Ying where they can tip the scales in their favor once they get to attack. There's no point. You're going to give them something that could give them a cheese victory or two, or something, if they are truly incredible with the Ying, something that they could use consistently to get a gunfight or two victory in their pocket. So I think the Ying ban is solid from OXG for that reason. It makes it and reduces Clubhouse down to brass tacks. Just gotta take gunfights. We all know how to play it. Don't give them utility that'll make it easier once they get to attack.
It's defensive composition, by the way. They left that dirt hatch open. Or not the dirt hatch, the dirt walls open, and instead just slapped down the Vulcan canister on that main dirt door. They are not bringing a Kaid for, I think, obvious reasons. But the other note is that they're, reinforcing Kitchen and Moto, but surprisingly not putting too much favor on those positions. You can see Twizzler on the main stairs. Oh, I think we've had another lag out. This is, as we call, not good.
Come on. Come back. I believe in you. No!
No!
You hate to see it. You hate to see it. By the way, I've been alerted to something, because I actually didn't notice it at all until it was drawn to my attention. So, Daniel, as you know, Packrat is subbing in, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's, Fish has got a scheduling conflict. He's got something going on. Packrat is subbing in, right? But Packrat in between games, changed his name to Lil Sugar Cookies
What?
away from Packrat.s2. I'm not joking. When we get back in the game, because we're about to get back in the game, take a look.
Oh my god, he did.
Take a look at Wichita Wolves roster. See if you notice anything amiss, some might say. Why would you do that? You're trying to advertise yourself. Why would you change your name?
He literally changed it today, too. According to R6 Tracker, he actually still has
He
it.
changed it mid-game.
He actually just changed it. Well, in the interim, apologies for the technical delays / issues / whatever the heck just happened. Wichita Wolves have gained the man advantage with 60 seconds left in the round. They still will possess 2 C4s and all 3 Mozzie Pests. However, Oxygen has opened up at a bare minimum the Moto hatch. Kitchen still TBD. I believe that has been left closed for the time being. But Oxygen's still at a chaotic point because they need to just push in and they only have 30 seconds to do so.
Not a lot of time. Riot might be the one they could get a kill on, depending on how aggressive he gets. If he wins this fight, he's stuck behind that barrel or that bench right now, and Vertical has 2 nades that he can use to try to make this a 2v2. Goyo fire in his way, though, and those nades don't appear to be a thought in his mind at the moment. He's got his gun up. No, he takes it out, trying to cook it, sends it over the top. Dream down on the floor, though, and the nade does not net above half HP on Riot, but Vertical still gets the kill. Only one will go his way, though, as Wichita Wolves win a round that only God knows how it transpired.
We know at least how the last half went. Bino,
I mean, that's
nice
true.
finish there, but it's still Oxygen losing the opener and a clean start for the Wichita Wolves. Also, because this wasn't really drilled in, Lil Sugar Cookies is Packrat. For all of you unfamiliar, I think we have to make that a command now because we made one for Astralis. I'm pretty sure there's an ! Grizzly Bear
No.
command.
No, he doesn't deserve a command. He doesn't deserve one.
He's deserving a cav. Hold
How
the
long?
phone.
How long were we gone between maps 1 and 2? How long were we gone? How did you change his name?
Enough for me to notice that he left the lobby and not notice that he joined back under a different name. I give it maybe 5-6 minutes.
Get a job. Get a job. That's all I can say. Gotta reprioritize. He's on the solos, though, thankfully.
Hey, he's playing for a different team. Wouldn't he, as Sweater indicated earlier, be a check stealer?
Interesting point. Either way, he's moved onto the solos, away from the Cav, thankfully. Won't have any Cav play. I mean, I know you've apparently designated yourself the Chaos Lover so far, so Caveira would be right up your alley. But hey, Solus, think about it this way, right? Solus basically creates chaos in the first 45 seconds of the round because her presence makes the attack a lot more scared about setting up cutoff drones, or getting drones in the building whatsoever. So you're gonna be going into the building a little bit blind for the first 45 seconds, getting a lot of new intel, because you got to be worried about Packrat, in this case, taking out some of your drones.
It's going to take me a second to get used to the whole Packrat being Little Sugar Cookies thing. It already took me a second to get ready for Grizzly Bear / Dream. I can't imagine what you had to go through with Astralis. I had to go through that
Yeah, it's fine.
regular season. How do you deal with that? Like, in-depth caster knowledge. How does one deal with just quick translating player names from Astralis.ast to, what was it, Forest?
I hate, listen, like, I hate to be that dude. It, like, wasn't that bad for me. Like, you just kind of set up a mental key in your brain. But I will say, like, that isn't an endorsement to do it. But I didn't have as much of an issue. You know who's about to have an issue, though, Dan? You know who's about to have an issue? Oh, Wichita Wolves. Because, well, I think Newers might just come ahead of this.
Well, he walks straight in towards Cash and finds Twizzler looking the wrong way. Now walks onto site, still needs to clear bathroom and knows it too. They're clearing bathroom as a squad with the assist from Dream, who actually finds the finish on Dabino. It's a 4 versus 2. They'll initiate the diffuser plant. You can see it's Packrat still below, trying to clear them out of position, but it's not looking all that good here for the Wichita Wolves on this defensive side. Brian a 1 versus 4, turned 1v3 as they pick up only 1, but Newers closes out the round from this construction side and gives the round favor towards Oxygen as they tie things up.
Good capitalization by Newers, able to realize that opportunity. He realized he might have something just pushing up those main stairs. Also sad to see we didn't see a lot of impact from the Solus. We saw Packrat down below, and then we had like a quick jump cut to him just shooting the floor light years away from the diffuser. But it's the intention that matters in potentially a good position.
I think he did that for the only reason that they planted on the one part of bedroom that is not soft.
Oh, you know, still was like about 2.5 yards away, but you are correct. Either way, he has decided Solus is not for him. Solus is not his bread and butter. He will instead go to the Valkyrie, who we did not mention is unbanned on Clubhouse. Now, of course, Wichita Wolves love banning the Azami. Oxygen decided to ban the Mira. One of those three was going to be up in just what is typically the most common 3 defender bans, being Azami, Valkyrie, and Mira. Wichita Wolves want to bring that extra intel gathering, as I will call it liberal Packrat has been with the gunfights he has taken so far in maps 1 and 2. The intel will be a welcome addition to any strategy that he individually has in mind.
On today's episode of Understatements by Carter, casting Lynx Hayes.
I typically do that.
Packrat has been minorly liberal with the amount of gunfights he's been taking. For all of you unfamiliar with the term, he's been taking a few too many in terms of what could be advantageous versus disadvantageous, favorable versus unfavorable. Sometimes not the best estimator of the fights he should be taking. Nonetheless, the Wichita Wolves are still tied up in this map and only lost the previous by 2 rounds in totality. But Oxygen's current position and the fact that they're clearing out a decent bit of this roam fairly early, I say, as Bry still finds an opening pick onto the strafing sweater while repelled, will at least give them some advantage.
A bomb has been located.
Always count on Bry. Not able to play today. Bry's got to step up a little bit, and so far, he's been doing his best so far in this game against Oxygen. Gets that opening pick, Sweater taken down. But of the 2 entries on Oxygen, Sweater and Newers, it's that latter player, that Yana at the moment, who's been the most potent player, not just on Oxygen, but in all of SCS. And there's his first kill. Twizzler has none of them so far. Foxy almost decapitated outside the gym window. Bry catches the Capital lacking, but Foxy manages to catch himself. Able to escape, move away. Packrat losing some HP as well as Oxygen slowly closing in on Wichita Wolves.
Oh, nice kill from Foxy, though, on that AC window. Bry trying to play aggressive, but Dream knows about it. Apparently had one prior, a little bit of deja vu there for that Thermite, and the round ends as Vertical just casually jumps in through the gym window, finds a kill close to start things off, and far towards construction to close things out, giving Oxygen the lead.
2 gym rounds in a row as well. Now Wichita Wolves can go back down to basement, which, again, for reasons that are known, actually not even to the observer, none of us technically know, they were able to win and able to get to an advantageous 3v2 position on basement, where Oxygen were clearly favoring, we can at least gather this, a push down from bottom main, and Moto, maybe kitchen hatch as well, and that's where things started going awry, because usually that kitchen hatch is a feature of that bottom main Moto push, but they were stopped in some way, shape, or form. So how OXG take this round will be indicative of the changes they've made. They will likely have to cut through some aggression because Rise on the Solus will likely want to try to destroy some utility and destroy some drones, and because Packrat is currently playing in the game. So both of those players could be problematic players that OXG will have to worry about in the early round. Based, Foxy. Actually, very base take in chat just now.
Not a terrible take. I have to give it to him.
Very
Bry's level of aggression would probably coincide with the East Coast playstyle just a little bit. I think Packrat would make them a top 1 team, just casually win an AL, probably move on to win SI. But
of course.
that's just personal opinion. Lil Sugar Cookies himself, who can't change his name for the next 30 days. Genius. Well, not able to do all that much with it. Bry, lucky to be alive, doesn't die from that blue window. Is actually looking to aggress off the back of it, but Newer's vacating the premises. Will be safe for the time being. The Wichita Wolves defense has played a little bit more concise this time around. They again are not extending to dirt, which I'm a little surprised about. That was a big point of contention for the short period of time that we saw Oxygen on the attack. At least they showed it, and then they decided to back off of it. I don't know if Wichita Wolves are going to give it to him once more. At least not fully.
Well, Foxy's content to take it. He's found his way in. There's always that classic barricade in the way and that Goyo fire on the opposite side. But Newers, he does not care. He's seen a thing or two at this point, but unfortunately, the Hail Mary play, the commitment, while admirable, does not end up paying any dividends. Goyo fire ends up burning Newers to a crisp. Vertical does get the kill back in a very important position. It might be a 3v4, but Vertical's managed to find one in blue, but never mind. Packrat is just in kitchen with the P10 Roni, as a matter of fact, and has taken down 2 OXG players from that very spot.
Oxygen now in a 2 versus 4. We've seen positions like this for the Wichita Wolves in rounds prior, just not so much here for Oxygen in terms of full clutch situations in later stages of rounds. The bottom floor has been the real bane of Oxygen's existence. The caveat is this is the last time that Wichita Wolves can play it, assuming of course they win. And with that shot from Bino, it's almost a certainty Twizzler will close out the round. And the Wichita Wolves' clean set of gunfights will give them favor and tie things up.
Now I'm kind of wondering, did they just, like, hit dirt last time? Or is this an adaptation? Now I'm curious. Did they just try to, like, run it back? Because we don't know. Or is this, like, this is the solution?
I think the only solution, or the only way to know that is, especially with Oxygen's attack, they indicated dirt early this time. We saw the Vulcan canister prepped on the dirt door prior. And again, they didn't extend a dirt door back in round number 1, or the dirt walls of the barrier. But you could see Wichita Wolves were favoring the blue and dirt doors later on in round 1. I think that Oxygen at least tried it, but it didn't work.
Well, I appreciate the attempt. And plus, that means that we don't get to see CCTV, which typically, for the defense, not the best time. Not the best time you can have on Clubhouse. Garage, difficult position to hold. Kind of problematic, especially even though you have that Wamai on the board, that Azami can make it a lot easier. No Jaeger on the board either. So Wichita Wolves will be playing very, very, very carefully on those rafters. Because all you have to deny 2 sets of frag grenades being brought by Oxygen is about 5 magnets over the course of the round. But that being said, I'm thinking about a year ago, Daniel. Because why would you play a Wamai there when you can have Doc in there who can stim himself to full HP any number of times?
Maybe they're doing the combination of the two, where Riot decides to play up top and, well, the Wamai at least assists in terms of the hold. That seems to be the case. I'm a fan of it. Just the question is, how many magnets do they actually fully dedicate to this position? Because Foxe is going to look to Maverick trick the CCTV wall. First time I've seen a Maverick trick in a few days. Magic tricks, you know, far removed from that conversation. But it seems like Maverick trick will work out fairly well. Not all that much to return. You could see the attempted impact return from Packrat. He actually takes more damage than he deals.
Going down to 50 HP. Foxe also starting on the right side of the panel. Maybe to try and catch anybody. Moving in through red. But they've made the wall soft either way, and he hasn't lost, well, too much HP from anybody peeking from that red door. So a win overall. We've opened up a necessary panel, and Newers opening up some necessary pressure in the round. Packrat caught moving around inside of the site as Newers has decided to release some of that pressure inside a bedroom and give OXG the comfort of not only a minute and a half remaining, but also an opening pick to decide if they want to focus on Garage or maybe make use of the control that Newers has acquired.
Whereas the nade may actually do a decent bit of damage, and well timed on Dabino towards red, it does. Bri from below does find a return, so at least a 1-for-1 trade in that conversation. Twizzler follows up, but is immediately downed and now dead. It's down to just Bri, and a 1 versus 3 finds one as he walks up the red stairs, looking for a second across, but won't be able to find it. It's Foxe from the entrance of the main wall, actually walking in from the AC window to close out the round and give Oxygen their third, and again, at least a tied-up halftime scoreline.
Really like the decision by Newers to rotate over to master bedroom. A lot of times we'll see teams really fixate on that platform wall and on that garage side of the map to clear out those 2 very important positions. And that'll often be enough to win a CCTV round. I mean, if you just bombard that dock with grenades and pressure, it's gonna give eventually, unless something goes awry for the attacking team. But then we see Newers rotate over to master bedroom and take advantage of the fact that Wichita Wolves might be a little bit comfortable.
They're playing bar stage. That's happening. Not something I had on my bingo card for semi or grand finals, but sure. Bar stage, or bar, as most teams like to call it, is actually a site being defended. And I actually like the composition that the defensive side is bringing. A lot of off-site pressure that they can bring on-site holds, considering it's not place and forget, but place and play around utility. Notably, the Evil Eyes, you have the Valkyrie cameras, Echoes, Yokais, really you name it, they really have it. Combo that alongside the proximity alarms, aka beepers, decent bit of info for the defensive side to play on or around the site.
Are in stage, my friends. What have you got cooked up here? CCTV is just that bad, though, for the defense at times, so I don't exactly give them too much flack there. Vertical will make a bombastic entrance inside a garage to take down a very important operator. Solus now off the board, and Bride still the best performer for Wichita Wolves, but not having a standout game so far. Packrat domed, eliminated. Newers is an all-chat warrior. Kool-Aid would be jealous of the performance that Newers is putting up in all-chat right now. 2v5 at the moment. Wichita Wolves. Only Twizzler and Bino left alive, and a lot of intel with them, Daniel, but...
No, not again!
Wow,
What happened again?
Dude, you just gotta, you gotta upgrade to Spectrum, dude. Get fiber optic. I don't know, man.
It's okay. We're right back in. It hasn't become fully the end of the world, at least not for the time being. Newers sees the Evil Eyes, going to prep a nade at the bottom of it, and that should blow up the Maestro utility. Maestro, one of the two remaining players for the Wichita Wolves, the other being, of course, the Echo. A lot of utility still remaining for the defensive side in terms of the 3 impacts. They still have an Evil Eye and 2 Yokais to work around alongside Bino's MP5 SD. That already is a point of contention that Oxygen does not want to contend with. Bino looking for a follow-up. This time it's not going to happen, and Foxe with the SC3000K is not going to give it away. We'll actually find a follow-up and give Oxygen the halftime lead 4-2. At the split, as the attack now becomes the favored defense on their own map pick.
Wichita Wolves able to win 2 rounds on basement, but end up dropping the rest of the defenses. Things aren't done and dusted just yet, though. Defense on Clubhouse since the game, or since the map entered the pool, has always been on a bit of a downward trajectory, and it's only emphasized itself further in the recent months. So Wichita Wolves, even if they end up maybe losing this basement site to start out, they've got CCTV as a potential win for them later on. Gym Bedroom as a round that can go one way or the other. So how they do in this first round, even if they end up losing, it's not game over. But in fact, if they're able to get a win on basement and almost tie things up 3-4, we might be in for a lengthy map on Clubhouse, depending on how good Wichita Wolves are attacking on this side, or, supposed to flip it, how good Oxygen are on this defense, as they seem to be wanting to take after Wichita Wolves with some of this aggressive roaming.
Well, considering Oxygen chose the map, you already have to indicate the fact that they are at least somewhat favorable on the defensive side. But Wichita Wolves is the real question mark in their favor. It's not their map selection. They, of course, chose the defense to start, so at least they would expect it would have been their favorable side. And that obviously just was not the case. Maybe a 2-4 half is what they were hoping for. Only winning the bottom floor, certainly not the greatest position for them. But they can come back from it. Big note, by the way, Dream is bringing the Kaid, and there is not any EMPs nor impact EMPs on the attacking side to deal with that. I believe Dream played a very complex game of hide-and-go-seek, and Wichita Wolves just did not figure out the Moroccan op was being brought. I mean, hey, Morocco was favored in the World Cup, maybe favored a little bit here in Siege as well.
You see, but this is where you got to twist it, okay? This is where you made a misstep, because it doesn't matter. Wichita Wolves will just kill everyone. You don't need to bring any EMPs, primary or secondary. If you can take down Vertical in the first 30 seconds, sure, it's Alibi. Sure, all that utility's been wasted. Vertical was likely one of the main players on Oxygen to get aggressive in that early round, and he's no longer a factor. Twizzler is able to very effectively dispatch with him. But in all seriousness, it is a little bit concerning that Wichita Wolves, with Thatcher not even banned, decided not to bring that Thatcher or bring those secondary EMPs as a backup option. You've lost your IQ. I mean, maybe she could have spotted those Cade charges, and you still got a 4v3. In terms of utility, it's a little bit concerning for when Wichita Wolves actually have to open some angles.
Oxygen do find that return, as mentioned, but Sweater again traded upon once more. It's Wichita Wolves playing from the front foot, but they've had issues long-term, whether it be here on Clubhouse or back on Cafe, holding down advantages that were either gained or given. You can see Dream trying to get aggressive in towards Dirt, surprisingly not reinforced by any means, however still being aggressed upon by the defensive side. And as time starts to dwindle here for the attack, what's the call for them? Fox A wants to aggress outside the door, but instead is now just stuck inside a kitchen. You have to play a little bit more concise for the defense.
You know Foxay's there, though. They know he's inside a kitchen. He's just playing his life at this point, trying to waste time. One player stacked outside the kitchen door, make that 2. Flashbang goes on in, but it doesn't blind the Mozzie. Twizzler, the only one that pushes, and he ends up being down. Foxay goes for a second peek, spots the head of the ace for just a single second, but it's Riot, the next to fall, not from the Commando. Instead of Cade TCSG that tries to back him up. Foxy now caught with his back turned to Bry, but he's wasted so much time and done so much damage to Wichita Wolves. Twizzler on the floor, now 1 HP. The hatch not opened up with only 30 seconds left. It's only a 2v3 sure, but with the C4 and 2 bodies remaining and time on their side, could still be a win for OXG.
Oh. C4, however, just narrowly missing. They do take the all-important Selma out of contention, and I don't know if they're going to be able to open up that main hatch. Bry walking down blue will look to aggress on his own, however, as his 2 teammates are still looking to aggress around that kitchen position. They now instead drop down main. Newers with a double from that Moto position, and the TCSG reigns true for a double, as Dream will send Wichita Wolves packing with the shotgun itself and give Oxygen a 5-2 scoreline.
And I mentioned earlier that even if Wichita Wolves end up losing basement, we should see how they're able to perform on gym and bedroom, and I was going to say and CCTV, but in this case, like to be gym and bedroom, as that is the preferred site compared to CCTV, in order to see what will happen. But definitely not a lot of positives to be felt after that round, because they got 2 picks. Sure, Twizzler's able to take down Vertical, great. Able to take down Sweater inside of CCTV. Awesome. But then beyond some gunfights being given to Wichita Wolves, which they won and they should be commended for, they weren't able to accomplish much of their own actual action. When they needed to open up Smangles, open up maybe the floor and kitchen, open up the hatch and kitchen for that matter, or make any progress beyond the initial full clear, they weren't able to do it very much. Beyond those kills given to them by OXG, they didn't have much. So maybe things will change on gym and CCTV. But I'm holding my breath a little bit. Holding my breath.
Maybe holding your breath for a little bit longer than I think you'd hope, unfortunately. Especially with how Oxygen played on the bottom floor. Albeit that was the exact same position for the Wichita Wolves. They won the first round, immediately lost the subsequent 2, and then won the bottom floor again, lost the following 2 once more. Albeit on different sites, considering it's CCTV cache and then bar stage. But still a conversation point. Foxay, with the Solus out, will look for drones and then find nothing but thin air. Will actually find a drone hiding in the top corner, but just 1 as of right now. They're down to 8 on the Wichita Wolves attack. Not a big conversation point, still a notable point of contention, I suppose. But Oxygen, here on Gym Bedroom, I think they win here, they probably win the game and subsequent series.
I think that's a pretty safe bet as well. It's tough to say, especially because that would make it a 6-2 scoreline, and you always don't want to undermine the clutch, and maybe the underdog comes out on top. But now we see Bry go down. Newers running rough shot inside a bar. 1 player just around the corner, and I think Newers will probably win this engagement. Packrat has struggled so far, and down he goes. Twizzler's able to get 1, but Newers switches to the Deagle and still makes it a 3v4. Oxygen are in the driver's seat right now. It's not even a minute in, and Wichita Wolves are already on the back foot.
Even further so, at this point, Foxay taking out another drone. Twizzler does get another, but is immediately taken care of. It's now Riot in a 1 versus 3. Does find the first, not switching, and doesn't really need to. Looking for a second, finds Dream as well. Now up against Newers. We haven't even surpassed the halfway point of the round, and it's down to just 20% of the lobby remaining. Near full HP for Riot. definitively full for Newers, who has taken the drone out of contention and therefore information for Riot, of whom has not had to use either of their exothermic charges. They're looking to walk on the backside of the mattress. Newers knows it, but still takes the predominant part of damage. Now looking to play around the backside of the master door and wins the fight against Newers, who's trying to fall back into logistics, but is unable to make it that far. And the Wichita Wolves, off the back of, you guessed it, chaos, win the round.
Damn, you stole my line, Daniel. That's what I was going to say. I was going to say if you try to win by chaos, you need to be careful you're not undermined by it in the end. Because Riot pushes on in, he catches Sweater rotating. And then he also catches someone playing on that master bedroom door. Everyone on OXG was anticipating that aggressive play, that push in from logistics and up main stairs. And their positions in that 1v3 reflected it. But because of how quick that round went, they didn't anticipate Riot pushing in through Khan's single, and he was able to get 2 kills, 2 isolated engagements, but for once, not necessarily a misplay by OXG, but just excellent timing going Riot's way. Then he manages to win a 1v1 later, which again is just a testament to his skill. So as OXG moved to CCTV, still need to see a convincing attack from Wichita Wolves, but that could have been what saves them from a loss in the end.
Riot just casually bottom fragging, entering into the round, walks away from it with 5 kills overall. Actually, it was a buddy ace for all of you who like the terminology, between Twizzler with the opening double and Riot with the final 3. Oxygen certainly were in that round, and honestly in the driver's seat, as you mentioned, but it feels like the transmission just gave out of the car. They tried to lead forward, and the Wichita Wolves able to just take over with the manual, really lead away. Can they continue with that, though? CCTV cache, the 3rd site for defense, therefore, of Oxygen, and I don't know about the site. I don't like it. I hate defending it. I'd rather play bar stage, similar to that of Wichita Wolves. What's your take on it?
Site sucks. It's not good. Because, I mean, here's the thing, right? There's only really one main way to defend it. You got a couple players on red or inside a CCTV. You have somebody in garage. And hey, if you want a bandit trick, you can. I mean, nobody from Wichita Wolves is running a Thatcher again. So bandit trick isn't really going to get you much. Pack rat on IQ will just shoot it down below. But there's not a lot of maneuverability on CCTV. You really got to win it and hope maybe you get a big W in terms of the utility in the early round, destroy an exothermic or 2, or you're able to win based off your garage hold, or you just manage to get a couple lucky picks. Beyond that, it's difficult. But if Dream is able to get that first one, then who knows? CCTV could grant them match point.
What in the world were they doing just trying to walk up red? Dream was looking that general direction already, and you know, sound cues on metal stairs, not quiet by any means. Twizzler's below as well, wheeling a nade towards Vertical's current position, and the nade does about 50 damage, just not enough in terms of lethality. Bry with a follow-up, dropping Sweater, so the bandit out of contention. But still, well, there's a follow-up. Foxay now gone, and Dream wants to get aggressive trying to recuperate losses, does so correctly. A double there for the smoke.
One more in red who might get over-aggressive and tip the balance further in OXG's favor. Bry will reveal his position because of the proxy alarm, but he'll instead move back to red. Slowly pushing up. A close fight with the shotgun is not something I'd want to stake match point on. But Dream takes it with the SMG-11 instead. 3 kills so far. He might lose his sight, but hasn't lost his prowess in the round. Never cleared out Newers in garage. Well, that's going to come back to bite you. Bino now in a 1v3, and hate to say it, hate to be a Debbie Downer, but he does not have what Riot had in the last round. No convenient positioning, no timing going his way. This might just be a match point for Oxygen.
Big note is the fact that 3 players for Oxygen, all 3 of them are 75 HP or below, which is 3 shot from the AK-12. Certainly a possibility, but as soon as the first kill reigns true, Oxygen, considering their spread positioning, will be able to recuperate and figure out where Bino's walking in from. Already the angle found, courtesy of Newers playing on the rafters, and Dream's about to get aggressive down the metal stairs. I don't see this round particularly going in the favor of Bino. There's the beeper. There's the triple for Dream, and the round for Oxygen. I think that was actually a quad, courtesy of Dream's smoke. And they're on to match and series point.
You got to go back to basement as well, the site that this all started on, and so far in this match has 100% defensive win rate. That is what Wichita Wolves are staring at to win 3 rounds in a row on Clubhouse Attack. I mean, you know, this is the favored side, but this is the site that so far the attack has struggled to win, and Wichita Wolves weren't able to mount a really, I suppose you could put it, a convincing argument as to why and how they could win it. Stuck outside of the building, only seemingly winning gunfights that OXG were giving to them, maybe getting over aggressive in a way. They're running, or OXG I should say, are running with the same op lineup at the moment. So hey, maybe Wichita Wolves end up with the same 4v3 to start, but it still ended up in a loss for the Wolves.
Now, 3 consecutive rounds required for the Wichita Wolves to take down one of the better teams in North America in Rainbow Six Siege as a whole. A brief reminder for all of you curious, we had 4 Tier 1 teams, 3 of which from the North America League, enter into this season: Astralis, Oxygen, Parabellum, and 6 Karma, courtesy of the Mexican Premier League, or Mexican Pro League. We're down to just 1, that being Oxygen. They're paving their way to the grand finals in a fairly clean fashion. Just a single round of the next 3 required. They need to complete 1 defensive site victory. However, they have lost the opener, as Sweater gets a little over-aggressive, and Lil Sugar Cookies, aka Packrat, returns with the 417. Newers wants to play aggressive as well.
I mean, if Oxygen are content to give Wichita Wolves these early fights, I'm not going to give the attack any flack for winning them and gaining those advantages. They've taken down Sweater early on again. Newers was very close. He was playing on Secret and was close to those blue stairs, so he can retreat back down. Foxy also found himself in a difficult spot, trapped in Kitchen in the previous round on Basement, sees one out by the chain rappel, so he's trapped, but with a lot more options at his disposal. He'll even just sprint across as Packrat takes the time to reload, and he's not stuck the same way he was before, but it's still the same advantage.
Doubled up advantage now for the Wichita Wolves. 2-man on the front foot, and Oxygen playing from behind for the first time in recent history. Albeit recent this half, in all fairness. Gym Bedroom the last time, that was the point. But even then, it was still a 1 versus 1 that ended the round off the back of a 3 versus 1 in their favor. Wichita Wolves finally putting that together, but the point of contention for them has been holding advantages that they've correctly gained. The last time I brought this up, they were trashed, thrashed, sent away. This time may not be the case, as Vertical's just sitting inside a bar, and the 417 shot of Packrat from the lion behind them indicates that this has not been droned.
Not like this.
This is not looking good for the Wichita Wolves.
Not like this. I don't want it to be like this. First kill goes Vert's way. Packrat's still asleep. It's Riot to bring it back. Packrat almost losing his life. He's saved by his teammate. Could have been a huge play from Vertical, but still caught them off guard. The main source of soft destruction taken out, but still quite a bit of Vertical opened up by Wichita Wolves. You have 50 seconds left, OXG. Got 1 C4 remaining, but maybe time on your side if Wichita Wolves begin to stall out. If you're just able to relieve some pressure, whether it be by bottom main or on blue, make this a 3v2, scatter the Wolves into disarray, you could win 7-3 right here.
Decision's looking the right way. This is the real positive for them, and now Dream looks towards main and finds the kill, is indicating he wants to favor towards blue, but that's being held from above towards that stock hatch. Foxy now favoring the main door because of the previous clearance. That of Packrat could play forward towards that kitchen drop should it come to fruition, but it's down to just Dream. Does find a first, does not, however, have his C4 remaining, and the diffuser almost certainly will indeed go down. Riot holding the smoke, but Dream has already crossed. Now playing from behind, will find a third on the round, creates a rotate, vision for him, and with the revolver out, will be shut down. Riot keeps the Wichita Wolves alive for 1 more round here in SCS Season 7.
Ooh, a little too close to that clutch, if you ask me. Dream is getting a little too crazy with the TCSG for my blood. But OXG almost winning it on Basement, but that was the one we expected them to win. That was the one that we were concerned would end it all here. But Wichita Wolves, they win it. They've won Gym before as well. OXG will try Basement again. But now that they've shown they've been able to win it, even if Dream almost clutched, even if Dream made it a 1v1, the Wolves forced him into that position, forced him into a 2v4 that turned into a 1v3 with him last alive. They might have almost thrown it away, but Wichita Wolves have shown they can mount a successful attack. They can deal with OXG's aggression and then convert it, albeit with a little difficulty, but convert it nonetheless into a victory.
Again, possible final attempt and round in SCS Season 7 here for the Wichita Wolves. Valiant effort there for Dream. 3k in the round, would have been a 4k, fairly low HP when push came to shove, but it really came down to the clutch factor that was there. Just Wichita Wolves recuperated. And you were talking about Packrat still sleeping in bar. I feel like that was still the case around the main side as well. Just not aware of all your possible positions that you could fall from for the Wichita Wolves attack. Almost costing them. A little bit of over-aggression around stock as well. Just not required. Now's the time to slow things down. Play around your advantages and notably the information that you gain. You are not bringing in Iana this time around, surprisingly enough, considering Bry will pick up the Ashe instead, give away the nades in favor of the Ashe breaches. A little surprising considering information's been the real part of premium for the Wichita Wolves, and the Gemini replicators were a real point of contention that they favored, mostly. Yet they're giving them away this time around.
Also, no nades for Wichita Wolves as a result, because they're giving away that Yana and because they're giving away that Sledge. But if it means we get a Thatcher, honestly, like, I'll take it. Like, they have not been able to get that kitchen hatch open, or at least not open until very, very late in the round every single time. So if they're able to open up that kitchen hatch with those EMPs before 30 seconds left, hey, that's a win in my book. And if you need to drop 2 or 4 nades to do it, whatever, so be it. What I am concerned about, though, for Wichita Wolves is we're minute 10 seconds in, or about to be minute 10 seconds in. No, OXG haven't taken any fights with them. Sweater, he's on site. Oxay, on site. Vertical, he's a little off site, but now he's back. Wichita Wolves don't have those same 1-2 gunfight openings that OXG have granted them, both basement attacks. We're all bunkering. Without that opening, how are Wichita Wolves going to make one for themselves?
Turtle setup for Oxygen is actually really well put together as well, considering Wichita Wolves played off the fact that opening picks favored them in these last couple rounds. And now that possible favor has fallen off the face of the earth. Oxygen is not even giving the Wichita Wolves the time of day, much less a gunfight to give them an advantage. And look at how far and wide the Wichita Wolves are extending. From the blue stairs across the kitchen hatch and even the Moto hatch as well, which is finally being opened up. A minute remains, possibly on the Wichita Wolves season.
Minute remains, a drone left, barely an intel to be gathered, 5v5, they're opening up these angles, hatches opened as well, so many angles at their disposal, only so many players can hold them. You're going to have to push eventually, and as we reach 45 seconds, what intel do you have? What rotations have you missed because of your low drone count? Packrat will be the first one through, but he's been hit or miss on this entry so far, often giving it more than he's receiving it, or taking it for himself. Wichita Wolves need an opening pick to make this work.
They've opened up the kitchen hatch at a bare minimum, and Packrat giving away his current position, with Dream indicating that he's well aware of it. The TCSG in pocket has reigned supreme in fights prior, but it's the MX4 Storm to open up the kill feed, and that may very well close things out. Decent trades favoring Wichita Wolves, but it's down to just Twizzler as he walks in through Memorial. The Thorn will give away his position, and the TCSG, ever so poetically, will shut it away and send Oxygen Esports to the grand finals to face AAA for the SCS Season 7 crown.
You gotta give credit where credit is due. Am I, coming from CL, a little sad that it's not reality TV in this match? Yes, a little bit. Love my boy, Mr. B. But Wichita Wolves beat them. And honestly, I'm saying it again. If 2 rounds are closed out by Wichita Wolves' last map, this game isn't over. This series is not over. We're going to map 3. We're going to Chalet, and who knows if OXG take it. Who knows in what alternate universe it could happen. Wichita Wolves were still capable, very realistically, of winning their own map pick and taking OXG to map number 3, which was not something any single team in SCS, including Astralis, have been able to do so far. So the fact that they not only beat reality TV to get here, but very, very realistically could have gone all 3 maps against OXG is something that they can go home, even with a loss, with their heads held high.
And the positive note as well for the Wichita Wolves is that it was close, but you talked about it 4 or 5 rounds, sure. I'm cutting it down even further. 3 gunfights and a disconnect because of lag. And Wichita Wolves are A, in OT and Cafe at a bare minimum, and B, winning 6-5 at this point here on Club. And we're seeing a 12th round with them on the front foot. They were in this. From push to shove, it just came down to gunfights won by Oxygen, and the clutch factor long-term was there as they closed out the series.
Well, what more can you say? Wichita Wolves, they were close. Daniel and I were pulling for them. They still lost in the end. OXG, as you said, will go on to the grand finals and face Aerial Arise Academy. And that will be it for him and I tonight, but not it for SCS tonight. We're going to throw it back to the desk to break down OXG's, well, I suppose, let's just say solid position going into the grand finals.
Thank you very much, Lynx, and Time to Light. You can now return to the lumber camp as is your wont. Back up there amongst the trees that you love. And here on the desk, it's Korbeck, it's Nix, it's Glimpse. We're going to talk about this exciting win here. Just as the prophecy foretold, Oxygen Esports has punched their ticket to the grand finals of SCS. It was a valiant last stand here from the Wichita Wolves on Clubhouse, though. Got to give them their due. I think a lot of teams might have folded in similar circumstances, but they kept the dream alive. They kept the fight alive. But at the end of the day, Nix, it was just too much. It was just too much from the Oxygen side.
Too much indeed. Now, you got to give credit where credit's due, and I've said that quite a bit tonight, because Wichita Wolves really did come out swinging. They didn't back down. They wanted to make sure that they could get every single round in that they could, and you have to remember the level of talent that team has. They have just incredible players, and just to kind of go over some stats here, yes, Oxygen on top 100%. Dream actually being the one who is the top player coming out from the Oxygen side of things with a 1.66 rating. That is not something you see every day. Dream, I swear, if you're in your voice chat right now, I hope you're doing your happy claps, because I'm definitely going to be doing them for you.
And an 82% cost. I mean, at the end of the day, just a monumental performance from Dream right there, who just was ferocious throughout. I mean, the entire side, right, is ferocious throughout. But I do love seeing, we talk about Newers so much, and he is obviously such a talented player, but I do appreciate seeing some of the other members of Oxygen sort of stepping up in the gap, because it shows you what a well-rounded squad they are. And I mean, we saw that, I think, multiple times here on this map. One of the rounds that we really actually wanted to focus on, I know, Klimps, you were really interested in this one, and I was too, because it almost made us angry. But in round 7, there was a heck of a kitchen defense from Foxay. I think we can take a look at it in a little bit more detail, because it was absolutely crazy, Klimps, how well he held off the other team.
Yeah, he went in there and he cooked. And Foxay was cooking. He spread a little salt around the tables there and just popped off, really, and wasted so much time. And this is something that Wichita Wolves struggled with all of this map of Clubhouse, most notably, was the roam presence by Oxygen, being off site and trying to deal with these players. They just had no answer. Like, you have a guy isolated in kitchen, just play the vertical. You have the buck. You could have easily played enough vertical pressure, had a cut off for Foxay, and then just choked him out of this site, or out of this room, really. Instead, they tried to go take the fights. They spent so long. They even got downed and punished because of it, and allowed for the rest of Oxygen to try to go help out their boy, and it wasted a whole 20-25 seconds. So, I mean, with this happening, Oxygen just able to hold on to rooms and positions that they probably shouldn't have been able to do for so long.
Yeah, I think we saw that multiple times. And I gotta ask Nix here before we jump into our interview. I think some people will say, Wichita Wolves, they were doomed because they didn't have fish. It was just not going to be something that they could do. Do you think that was the case here, or was there actually like an open window for Wichita in this match?
Well, I want to kind of go back to what the casters were saying about there were just some unfortunate situations such as lag, just poor coordination, really things like that. If you take those into account and you actually give them the potential, round wins based off of those, I really don't think fish would have mattered too much. I think it just was an unfortunate situation with the roster that they had, internet connection, stuff like that. And, sometimes you just can't overcome things like that. Now, with the rounds where there's some coordination issues, if Fish was here, definitely would have been a lot closer. But you're still going up against an absolute beast that's Oxygen. So, it's really 50-50 at that point.
Very true. An absolute beast indeed. And speaking of beast, we have Fox here in the studio for the interview. We'll pull him up. Congratulations, my good man, on your victory here tonight. Well earned, well earned. And I've got to ask, though, you know, we were just talking about the Wolves. Did they put up more of a fight here tonight than you guys expected? Like, because it felt like they really came out swinging on Cafe. Like they were trying to put you through your paces.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously the map bans, I think they like were specifically targeting to get us off of like Bank Chalet. You know, we've been trying to stick to just like one map throughout this whole thing, but so I mean, they did their research and they threw out some like curveballs that it took us like some time getting used to. I'd say they definitely put up a fight. They were probably our most competitive game, and you know, we played Astralis like 2 days ago, so that's saying something. Good job to them. They got some good players to look out for, especially Bry. I'd expect him to be on like a Pro League team sometime next stage or something like that, so we'll see.
Oh, high praise indeed. And speaking of those curveballs, you guys hadn't actually played, as far as we know, you hadn't played Clubhouse in quite some time. Was it a bit difficult for you guys to slot back into that at first, or was it just an easy transition?
No, I mean, like, we're a Pro League team. We've been practicing like every map and just getting things ready for invite. Obviously, we're not trying to show too much, and we're just kind of like having fun and testing theories out in these games. But it wasn't that hard to slot back into it. If anything, I think like the seriousness and competition that we put in, the effort that we put in these games are obviously like way better than what we do in scrims. So for us, it's like this is like a better version of practice. So yeah, I think it's just like same old, you know.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, one of the things that I think has been defining of the Oxygen playstyle, and it was defining here tonight as well, is you guys just run such an aggressive plays. If it's defense, if it's attack, it's just high tempo aggression all the time. How do you guys maintain that? Like across every map, across differing circumstances, I feel like you guys never ever step off the gas.
Yeah, I mean, we just try to maintain a level of fluidity. Like every player on this team is like smart and can think for themselves. Well, maybe not smart, but they can definitely think to themselves like in the way that they play. So it's like you'd never want to just like handicap a playmaker for making a play just because you want the perfect solution or their perfect strat or their perfect opening. Like stuff like that doesn't happen in Siege very rarely, especially in these games against teams that are, not to say that they're less disciplined, less structured, but they have a lot more holes than, the top teams in all the other regions. So if you see an opening, usually you're able to capitalize on it a lot more. And I think that gives us a lot more confidence being able to practice it here. So it's like the perfect practice for invite coming up.
Hey, that's perfectly fair. And I guess last question here, and it feeds really well into this kind of overall sort of conversation, and probably the most important question. So tomorrow night, you guys are playing in the grand finals. Again, congratulations. But you're playing against a team of hungry, like young gunners. They're a team that really, I mean, if it weren't for their age, they'd be a CL team. There's definitely aspiring pro talent on the Aerial Arise Academy lineup as well. They're confident. Like, they feel like they're ready to take you guys on. They said in the interview earlier, we played a lot of grand finals. Right? They were not intimidated at all. How are you guys feeling about that matchup? Like, what does it mean for you? How do you feel like it's going to go?
At the end of the day, like it's gonna be lose anyway, because if we beat them, then we're just like the Pro League team that's bullying up on the underagers. No. And if we lose, then we're the Pro League team that got beat by them. And if anything, I think they're probably more happy that they get to play us, because like, I don't know, we play those guys in ranked all the time and they absolutely smoke us because, like, when it just comes down to like aim, they're just so fast and all over the place. Yeah. So, I mean, I'd say like, if anything, we're, in the deficit for sure. But hopefully our team play can, pull us through, and hopefully like my Newers can beat their Uzi. So we'll see.
My Newers, and it's like a secret weapon. You just unleash, you point him in the direction of the enemy and you just unleash him. But anyway, I love that answer. It's a very balanced take, and I think it's fair. But if you guys win, no, that Aerial Rise Academy team, they're not getting beat up on. I trust you. They're right there with you. They're pulling along, and you guys are, I hope, going to deliver a really great grand finals tomorrow. But congratulations again, Fox. Thank you for the interview. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Well, there you have it, guys. The game statistics up on the screen for the end of the match overall. Final thoughts here. Let's wrap it up for what's been a pair of pretty entertaining semifinal matches here tonight. We'll start with you, Klimps. What are your final thoughts here?
As for overall, unexpected win for AAA, at least on my end. I expected PB to perform maybe a little bit better and maybe find themselves on top. And that game was wishy-washy all along, but when it came down to here, the final map sets for Oxygen, I mean, this whole team performed. Sweater was the only one that was a little quiet, but considering he popped off in their last matchup against Astralis, I think it's okay. I think it's okay to take a step back, because when the rest of your team is popping off, notably Vertical, someone who's been relatively quiet throughout all of SCS, finally finding his light, his time to shine, and in the most important time in playoffs. So Oxygen overall, a successful night for them.
Hey, just go ahead and say it. I was right. Just go ahead and say it. I was
Just
right.
raise the standard. Don't let it fall.
The
Don't let it
bar's
fall.
up here. So no, I'm absolutely ecstatic that we had the games that we had tonight. Honestly, we probably were assuming, that this Oxygen game was going to be more of a blowout, but being able to see such talented players across multiple levels really, just bring it home and just really show these pro league teams exactly what they're made of. It's a fantastic thing, and I'm even more excited to see essentially the two spearheads of North American talent go head to head tomorrow.
The two spearheads, indeed. You can see the bracket there, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of teams have played. There was qualifiers. There was the qualifying stages, the Swiss. It's been so intense. It's been such good Rainbow Six Siege, but at the end of the day, only two teams can enter the grand final. It is Aerial Arise Academy. It is Oxygen. It is going to be a spectacular matchup, a pro team versus an aspiring, a hungry team that wants to leave their mark here on the T3 scene. Gotta ask, because it wouldn't be a complete broadcast without it. How do you think it's going to go tomorrow? We'll start with you, Klimps. You're on the spot. What are you looking for?
Oxygen hasn't dropped a map all season, and that is a big thing to highlight. AAA, they've made some mistakes, but they've had some good moments as well. They're actually one of the teams I expected to be in this spot when it came to the very beginning of the season. Then, in the middle of the season, I started to lose hope for the kids. I didn't think that they were quite ready, but they made adjustments. They fixed things that were problems, and in these last two playoff matches, they've shown out in a big way. So AAA, although they'll be good, they might take away Oxygen's first map of the season. I still think Oxygen do take it 3-1.
And Klimps, Klimps. Thank you for your opinion, Klimps. It's late. Nix, final thought. How's it going to go tomorrow?
So my opinion has been swayed. And the reason why is because of that Fox A interview. They have had experience playing against Aerial Arise Academy. Yes, it's ranked, but still, player behaviors do not change, even in ranked. I think there's a possibility that Aerial Arise might take it.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. But that's going to do it here for us tonight. Those grand finals, a match you do not want to miss. Legitimately, the end of SCS Season 7. It's going to be spectacular. I really think it has the potential to be a top-tier Rainbow Six Siege game. Be sure to be there tomorrow, 6 p.m. EST. It is one for the record books, but for now, a big thank you to our production staff, a thank you to our casters, thank you, Klimps and Nix. You guys have been wonderful on the desk, and of course, from all of us here at SCS, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful evening.